Dumps it off short. Quentin Johnston has the first down, and off he goes. They are not going to catch him. No flags. The magic continues for TCU.
This is 365 Sports, powered by SicEm365.com.
Shipley's going to break free. Across the 10, he's into the end zone for a touchdown. 32 yards.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
May looking, guns it in the end zone, touchdown, Carolina. Bryson Nesbitt.
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Williams, and it's intercepted. Cam Smith read it so well.
Cam Smith was all over that play.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Shipley's going to break free. Across the 10, he's into the end zone for a touchdown. 32 yards.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Right now, on an island in Hawaii, our Paul Catalina is probably very close to being officially married to Amanda. I mean, it's like 3 o'clock Central. I texted him a couple of times yesterday. He was telling me about some of the animals he sees from where he is. Mongoose, seals, etc. And he is right now, I don't know exactly to the second, but we might even be able to get video of it. That Amanda and Paul, congratulations. Craig Smoak, it is on the verge of his commitment being official, and there is no transfer portal.
Yeah, there is actually. I mean, you can enter the transfer portal, actually, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't come to that. And they're a great couple. Good for Paul. He's got a bit more of a vacation. We won't see him still for well over a week now at this point. And it's only been a couple days that he's been gone, but it seems like it's been longer than that.
Yep.
But yeah, I hope he's enjoying the time away. And Paul, for those who don't know, because sometimes we act like everybody knows everything, like he's our co-host is not here this week. So if you're a brand new viewer, he's usually with us, but getting married out in Hawaii. So congratulations to Paul, and best of luck, and we'll see him soon, hopefully.
Last, I guess it was Friday. I didn't do the show because I had that epidural Friday afternoon. I met him for a couple of drinks over at Salty Dog, which is a sports bar near where he is, and he was very calm about it. But it's been a great influence in his life, no question, and good for him. He's not going to be back this week. He won't be back next week, and then he's flying back in like on June 26th or late night, overnight. I've told him, you damn sure better be in studio by 3. Let's not let this affect when you're back. We'll see what happens. Okay, a lot to get to. That's Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak. Thank you for watching us. Graham Bronstein, Emery Winter, and also Garrett Ross in the studio. Garrett's about to be out from tomorrow through next Tuesday with vacation. Everybody trying to get away a little bit. And by the way, preemptively, hope you have a great Father's Day weekend coming up as well. So, Matt Brown today, Rob Bolton today, Dan Wetzel today. We'll also have our PGA U.S. Open Championship, Eli Letterman, and then also John Machota. And Arlington Bowie head coach Joseph Sam will join us. Craig, this is a nice nut. I love that Baylor's getting defensive secondary type help. It's a 2024 commitment, a long way to go. Chris Wokema of Bowie High School committed earlier today to play at Baylor and had some really nice offers on the table.
Yeah, I mean, they've been in need of safety help, so this is not something that addresses that immediately, but it's something that you can feel good about that is being addressed and that, will be addressed whenever he arrives on campus. But, was not expecting that necessarily. I'm not sure what the feelers out on the board were because I hadn't, been paying attention, earlier today and all that, it just sort of popped. And so I don't know if there was any sort of fair warning or how expected this was, but you did expect there would be some commitments coming out of this past weekend with as big of a weekend as they had. And you were able to get that with your 2025 quarterback, which was, a big deal because, we know the issues that they've had at quarterback. So these latest two commits are two areas of real big need in the future. Chris Wilkema, nice offer list, like you said, Texas Tech and SMU, and a lot of others from Duke and Houston and Kansas and La Tech and UConn. A lot of potential Big 12 schools and current Big 12 schools. San Diego State. List goes on and on and on, kind of all over the map for him. But good player from all indications. I'm looking forward to reading some more of the analysis later on once everybody's kind of digested the news. But they've got some momentum right now. And whether that's the 24 class or the 25 class or extended offers for 26 and 27 like they were doing this past weekend, there's a little bit of energy, and I love to see it. And hopefully, Baylor fans are enjoying every little bit of it that they can, because we know this thing goes in waves sometimes. And we know that, it hadn't necessarily been a lot of fun and energy and all of that over the last few months coming out of last season. So, you know what? Maybe this is part of them turning the corner, turning a new leaf into next year, and propelling them into a big bounce back season.
Well, they need it as far as it, and again, they're never going to have. You wouldn't think they're never going to be in that top 10 among national recruiting sites, whatever. They never have. Not even when they started to get 5 stars like Katie Cannon or Robbie Rhodes or even post RG3. But this is a nice hit for them. And again, it's a 2024 Arlington Bowie. Bowie High School in Arlington has had some dudes now that have come out of that school and played college football. Clemson, by the way, slowly, methodically, and it's not quietly, they picked up running back Gideon Davidson for the 2025 class. This is a young man who's ranked very much among the top 100. Wanted to get into that. They've had a great run for 2024. Most of the same schools are a part of that list. So Gideon Davidson, a high-level running back, committed to Clemson. I think that was yesterday evening, but wanted to mention that. And then this story. Wow, I can't wait to see the responses either in the chat room or also the text line, 254-339-1122. 254-339-1122. Texas Tech has made the announcement the winningest coach in their history is going to be honored into their Hall of Fame this September. And there are so many ways. First of all, he has earned that opportunity, of course, the late Mike Leach. And the way he was treated, this will be interesting. Will they be able to bury hatchets? I don't know. But this is something that I go, oh, really now? Now because he's dead? Is that ever going to happen if he was still alive? But good for Mike Leach, good for his family that he's honored in Lubbock coming up this football season.
I'm a little bit torn on this. On the one hand, I think it's great. I think that Mike Leach deserves a spot in the Texas Tech Hall of Fame without a doubt. I think that the things that he did for that university are still being measured at this point in time. They wouldn't be where they are in the place that they are with the potential that they have under Joey McGuire without the Mike Leach era. There's others that you could throw into that mix as well, but he's certainly near the top. He's a guy who carved out a legend out there in Lubbock, and the people love him. I think it's unfortunate that there at the end it was, a battle with administration. I don't think that the Tech fans ever stopped loving him. I think that, we saw the outpouring of support when he passed. It does rub me the wrong way, though, that the administration is kind of, getting a little bit of rub off of his memory. And I know that there's probably a big changeover since the same people he was dealing with and the people that are dealing with things right now. But I kind of had this thought, and then I looked around and I realized, okay, good, I'm not the only one that thinks this way. But, yeah, it just feels a little weird because of the way things ended. If we're just talking about the pure Tech fan who, again, had nothing to do with it, they just showed up, they watched the Red Raiders under Leach, they were at school at that time or whatever the case may be, they love this, and it's well-deserved and all of that, and I hope that they, whether it's a good smile on their face when a highlight package is playing, or a little tear in their eye because of the memories that they still have from the Leach era. All that's well and good, but I don't like that the Tech administration is kind of getting the rub like everything was kosher and all good there at the end. There's even a quote in the Athletic article that was put out about this from Sam Kahn and I think maybe Bruce Feldman as well. I read it right before I came over here, and they asked an anonymous coach of what they think Mike Leach would have thought about getting this honor, and the person responded, he probably would have said, "Give me my damn money." And so, that was never resolved. They refused to pay him, and that was just a big point of contention, even all the way up until that bowl game. I mean, that was a storyline. It got rehashed during that time. Tech won that bowl game, got the big own, and probably felt like they won the war, so to speak, and then he passes the next year. And so I think there was a lot of things unresolved there. And I don't, I said this actually a couple weeks ago, I believe, when they were kind of honoring him and when he passed and really building it up, I was so torn because I totally understand from the perspective of those same people I was talking about, the people I know that went to school when he was there and loved Mike Leach and hated the way that ended. And then there is the other side of it. That was that administration piece that did everything in their power to not give him what he felt like he deserved, to fought him in, the lawsuit and all of that. And those people are also getting the rub off of this. And that's where I'm really torn on it because he needs to be honored. But I don't like the fact that Tech's getting a lot of this rub. I guess is the only way I know how to describe it really off of Mike Leach. I hope that makes sense. It's nothing against Tech fans. It's nothing really against the university. It's more just the situation and the way it's kind of perceived now is not what it was when he was actually alive. That was not all solved. And so that gives me a little bit of a weird feeling, but no doubt he deserves to be honored.
Hugh Cat, Mike Leach built this stadium. That's from a Tech supporter to me at a game recently. Cody Campbell money he played for Mike Leach. Katie Rader, no one in the current administration was a part of what happened to Mike Leach.
Yeah, I said that at the beginning. Yeah. I said I don't even know if there's anybody still on there. So, yeah, I mean, I acknowledge that. I understand that the initial reaction, and not even necessarily you, Katie, because I don't know your tone of voice when you responded. I know there are probably some people that just hear generally what I'm saying and go, oh, my gosh, I can't. No, it's nothing against anybody. It's just that it's looked at as though it's like it was all good, and it wasn't. And it just feels a little weird to me to be honoring him and wearing shirts and doing all these different things when it wasn't that way when he was still alive. Fans, and I wish it would have been.
Yeah, the fan base loved the man.
Yeah, no doubt about the fan. I made that very clear, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Also, from Kim, I'm driving. I have a ton to say about this. Kim Coulter's a huge, of course, Texas Tech booster as well. Katie Rader, first they should. Second, they didn't have to. Leach refused a settlement from Laura, which exceeded the bonus he thought he deserved. So there's some of that coming out. But Kim Coulter, when you get a second, first, I love Mike Leach, and then maybe you'll have some other responses on that. And as we get them, here's from Truck Stop Gumby. I can't help but roll my eyes a little at the mention of Mike Leach, but the man deserves his due.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not going to rehash it 15 times, but for the fans, absolutely. That's great. Administration, it's changed, all that, but it's still kind of weird if you know the story and to see all of the pirate flags and all this stuff, the shirts and all that was all well-deserved and honored. He deserves to be honored, but, yeah, it's just a little strange given the way it ended.
Phil Denzer, I'm a Raider fan, the other Raiders, but, hey, by the way, congratulations, Phil, on Vegas winning the Stanley Cup, Lord Stanley's Cup, by demolishing Florida like they ended the Western Conference with Dallas. Would they score like 6 or 7 in that one?
It was up there.
And they just 9 goals in hockey is like 66-0 in football, maybe worse.
It's a nice way to kick back and just enjoy a championship game and not have the stress of it coming down to the wire or anything like that. I'm sure winning one at the wire is way more fun, but it's more stressful. This, you're winning like at the end of the first period, and you can just sit back and
just chill.
Enjoy, basically, yeah.
Empty net at the end also as well. But, okay, here's some other on Mike Leach. Wet Blanket is an Oklahoma State fan. I love Mike Leach. The moment he reached out and offered Wes Welker a scholarship, conundrum, college football just isn't as fun as it was with Coach Leach. Let's see here. There's a couple of more. Still waiting a little bit for what maybe Kim can add to the mix. Now, as we get that, we'll go through that as we. So, Tonight at 6 o'clock, I reached out to Sam Kahn, who wrote an article, and they're writing a series on recruiting schools in America. And he handles a lot of coverage of the Big 12. Like today they released Baylor, the most important signee ever, the one that was a program changer, the one that's got away. A lot of that dates back to 2016 class being shredded by the scandal and much more, and also the biggest disappointment as well. We'll get into that, but when I was asking Sam to come on today, he's going to come on with us, I think, tomorrow. He said, we're all focused in on the SEC schedule being released, the 2024 football schedule being released tonight. Here's a couple of notes on it. Chip Brown, by the way, had the tweet that kind of gave away a lot of what UT's first year. Look at this. They're going to play Oklahoma. We knew that. That's going to be at the Cotton Bowl. That will not change. They will have a home game against Georgia, and they will also be on the road against both Texas A&M and Arkansas. So all of their, what you would call lineage or at least traditional rivalries that have been on and off or not, with Oklahoma, Texas A&M, and Arkansas, all of them locked in for 24.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool to see. I saw a lot of excitement on social media from, both teams, Oklahoma and Texas fans that, are pumped up about some of these leaks and kind of getting to wrap their head around it, and also looking forward to the rest of the release. But for Texas, I think, that's about all you could ask for. I mean, a home game against Georgia, that ought to be a massive crowd. Playing Alabama, or no, that doesn't say Alabama, does it? I was looking at Arkansas, my bad. But playing Arkansas makes all the sense in the world. If you're looking at firm rivals, I know they're not number one or number two for Texas, but they'd be up there. And so to be able to play that game in a conference style is pretty cool, I would imagine, for both sides. Same thing with A&M. Obviously, we know the history there. Having OU, that was a no-brainer. You're not going to get rid of that game or get rid of the pageantry that game has in Dallas every year. So, I mean, outside of a game against Alabama, I guess, that's about as good as you could have hoped for in terms of big highlights on your schedule if you're Texas. And I know Oklahoma, we'll get to them as well. But, yeah, that's fun, and it's all brand new and exciting, and we'll see, how it goes. But we'll still have to get another football season in first here with the Big 12. But it's fun to kind of start seeing some of those signs. And I don't know, I'm a little bit torn on this one as well because, for one, glad to see that game's in College Station, just like it always should have been. I don't care. I saw some UT fan that was trying to make this whole big deal with, and maybe there was more than one person. It was just kind of an in-passing thing, but they're trolling Billy Liucci over the comments he had made on Feinbaum about where the game should be played and how it should go the first year of the SEC between Texas and A&M, and was on his ass about, what do you demand that it's in College, and he was really just kind of giving the perspective of the A&M fan of like, yeah, we feel like the game should be in College Station, absolutely, or A&M admin, absolutely that game should be at College Station. I saw him get a lot of hell, which he does anyways. No matter what he says, he and Texas people are usually always going back and forth whenever I catch a tweet from him, but he was catching flack for, I guess, maybe the way he said it. I took it as like, I totally get what he means, but I also don't have an axe to grind with him. And I just thought, like, this is exactly, of course that game should be played in College Station. And that's not a demand, but absolutely it should be. And I don't see how there's an argument that it shouldn't be. They're in the conference. They made the move first. It's going to go back and forth. And, it'll be in Austin next year, and they'll rotate it. But as far as the first game and rekindling the rivalry, absolutely, because A&M was already in the SEC. I think that's the least you could do as the SEC, to just say, like, hey, you made the move. And who knows if this move's even possible if you hadn't done this a few years ago. And, as just a nice gesture, we'll give you this game. I just thought that was the right thing to do, all the other stuff aside, and I'm glad to see that that's the direction that they went. But, yeah, I mean, Oklahoma, nothing changes there. Arkansas on the schedule regularly, probably regularly, but A&M on there regularly. Georgia. You're going to play Alabama again this year, so you're not really missing anything, not playing them necessarily the next year because you'll have faced them twice in a row. So, yeah, that's about as good as you could ask for, I think.
I'm excited. I love it. I hope that when conferences do, and the Big Ten has released their 2024 schedule, there's maybe, I didn't see that oomph. I know USC and UCLA added, they're going to play some of the alphas that are a part of the Big Ten, but I love it. And, Texas and Georgia would have played probably a non-conference game pretty soon. Oklahoma, Georgia, we're going to play a non-conference game pretty soon. Oklahoma has played, Tennessee, and Texas has played LSU. Hell, that national championship, Joe Burrow, which was a great shootout game, among some others. I love it, and I hope that that's the case every year moving forward in the SEC. Now, whether it's 8 games or 9. Now, I think I've got to all of what I had mentioned. So there's some response again on Mike Leach. And Craig made this very clear that nobody in the administration now was there when all hell broke loose. And Kim, you reiterated that. He said, I know what Leach said to Hanson Sowell when they slid the paper across his desk and said, either sign it or be gone, more to come. They were trying to get him to sign off on admitting he had done something that he didn't do. This was a hatchet job. This was an absolute, it was just awful. And you mentioned that they were mad because he may have interviewed secretly with Washington. Then fire every college football coach in America.
And how's Mike Gundy still have a job at Oklahoma State?
Yeah.
I mean, that's basically everybody outside of probably, 5 schools maybe that don't have anybody that gets approached and then reciprocates that interest because there's no way further up. But outside of that, I think. It's just in the DNA of a lot of college coaches, except for a Kirk Ferentz.
Or their agents.
Yep. Even with the coach not even acknowledging it. So, I don't buy that as a reason. And I know that's you need to keep going. I shouldn't even cut you off because that makes it sound like that was the reason everything blew up, and I know that's not the case.
That was something he's mentioned, and he knows he's tied into it. Here's from Ben DeJet. Stop being a Tech fan when Leach was fired due to how it ended. However, Joey McGuire came in with such an energy. I became season ticket holders again.
We love Joey McGuire.
Yep.
We love Joey McGuire. Love what he's doing with the program. Think he's got an upward trajectory. They're recruiting really well. They're going to have new facilities. Everything's great. The only thing they have to do now is actually win. I mean, that's the only thing. I mean, they're only going to keep going up from here. I mean, they could technically go down as well. But, 8 wins in year 1, bowl game, bowl win. Recruiting class is top 25-ish at the moment. They're, apparently in the lead for Micah Hudson, the big 5-star. Things are going great and wish nothing but the best for them. And it really has nothing to do with, Joey McGuire either, to be very clear. It just makes me feel weird to see all this lovey-dovey stuff when that was not the case when the man was still walking the earth. And that's just what bothers me. But I know that the lovey-dovey is not necessarily coming from those that were creating some of that situation. So I'm glad that those Tech fans who did love him and all of that get to love on him some more. But I hope that those in charge that didn't want to give that man his money and wanted to make his life as much hell as possible, I hope that they're really not around. If they are, that's a shame.
They should not be at the ceremony. They should not be anywhere near it, no matter what Kent Hance has been a part of over the years. Laura, in what world is it okay to tell your boss to go have relations with yourself? I guess in some comments from Leach and also whoever, Hance or Soul. That is what I had a problem with at the time. I hate this because all this does is bring up crap from them. It's going to have that response. You're going to have reverberation because of today's story. Here's the bottom line. I'm glad as hell that he's going to finally honor a man that had so many great years and made Texas Tech right there on the edge, nationally elite with his offense, with the quarterbacks, with that year in which Texas Tech, and Oklahoma all beat each other, ranked in the top 5. That, to me, is what it needs to be about when they honor him in September.
Yeah, and relationships are complicated. Sometimes they're messy. That was certainly a prime example of one that was complicated and messy, but there was also a lot of love and a lot of great moments as well. I think that, had he been able to, live a while longer, I think they probably would have patched it up ultimately. I think somehow, some way, something would have occurred to where before it was too late, that there would have been, him at that ceremony at some point in time. Unfortunately, we'll never know, but I choose to believe that in my own head because I don't think totally ill of either side. I just think that the situation was complicated and it was messy, and nobody clearly thought this guy's going to prematurely pass away and we're never going to be able to resolve this. But I don't think it's fair though to say I think you have to say the other side of the story though, even though it is complicated, because that's the truth. I just don't want it to be whitewashed basically, and it's like, yeah, it was all hunky dory and there was nothing but love and all this, and that wasn't the case. But But yeah, that's where I'm coming from. I think I made that clear, and welcome any feedback. But I think most people probably feel that way too.
Again, Kim Coulter, Laura, and also Katie Rader, I think, has been a part of these and other. If an employee told you to F off, what would you do? I love Leach, but probably would have fired Leach too. Just didn't have to happen. Part of that back and forth, the animosity among those involved. A bunch of childish, egomaniacal bull crap. And then I'll be at the ceremony with tears running down my cheeks.
Oh, I'm sure a lot of people will be. Yeah, I mean, I lived out in Lubbock for a while. Like, I know this. When he was there, I was there. I know it firsthand. I know the love, man. And yeah, I'm sure there will be a lot of tears because he made a huge impact on the people in Lubbock when he was there. So yeah, I imagine that's going to be very emotional. It's just really unfortunate that he can't be a part of it. That's the biggest, sorriest thing in this whole story. But that'll be a great emotional night, I'm sure. And if to the question of what would you do if somebody said F off or whatever, well, yeah, you'd probably fire him. But then would you honor them years later after the fact when they never apologized? I don't think that you would.
And was he pushed to a point where you're just almost like, you know what, I am not one to discuss anger or emotions because I'm a loose cannon. And so I would think F off means you should be fired, but you could also push somebody to a point where even if they shouldn't do it, it's hard not to. Kim Coulter giving Craig a couple of fists. It's someone mentioning, yes, Adam James, Craig James' son, and all of that story.
That was so bizarre, looking back on it.
From Hayden, if the old administration is gone, and they are, why not give his family the amount of money he wanted and be done with it and just fix it all? Honor him. Hand Mrs. Leach a check.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the details and all of that and what of it. Yeah, I don't know about all that. It's a valid question though. So don't really know what to say as far as that goes. That's a conversation too for another time to get further into. But just generally, think we've let our thoughts known, and it's a valid question though.
All right, so the SEC schedule leaked a little bit thanks to Chip Brown. Among that, the commit for Baylor. Also today, yesterday, that story about USF and their stadium, their athletic director is going to join us, USF, on Monday. There's a lot going on. We're going to have our U.S. Open picks at around 3:45 with Rob. But coming up next, Matt Brown from Extra Points. And he's done something about a game he's trying, and I don't quite get it. He's trying to allow you to be an athletic director of a program, of a university, of a campus. And we'll get into that with him and much more. Thank you for a great start with the feedback. Those of you watching, this is 365 Sports. Don Shumidor, and God, that was fun. Don Shumidor and Coffee Beans in the Cowboys Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. I was there yesterday, went by there. Cheyenne was there. It's either Cheyenne, Carol, or Ashley, or sometimes all of them, and walked straight into the 48-foot walk-in humidor. I had been given some cigars before I went to Florida to see my brothers, which was an incredible trip. And the ones that they gave me, La Galera were fantastic. Long Churchill length, very smooth smoke, and I went in there to get more. And then I got a few others of this. I got La Fontana. I also, there's a couple that are like a little bit cheaper as far as the price, but they're like longer than Churchill. They're like, it's called the American. Just something I like to have around when I'm playing a round of golf. The cigars there are elite, from Cohiba to Padron to much, much more. Don Shumidor and Coffee Beans with the CBD products, including Vita Dreams. I take a gummy every night about an hour or so before I want to go to sleep. And it allows me, when I do lay down, to rest quickly and be asleep. And next thing you know, you're waking up whatever time it is at night. It's Don Shumidor and Coffee Beans. Tell them I sent you. Father's Day gifts aren't a bad idea either, with that coming up this weekend. It's off Richland Drive in Valley Mills in Waco.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears!
It's Ram season at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals couldn't be any hotter. Shop the greatest selection of new inventory in Central Texas and save big on Ram trucks. Now offering 10% off MSRP on a new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, or get 2.9% for 72 months. The choice is yours. Plus an extra $500 bonus cash to first responders. Allen Samuels in Waco is the place to shop Ram trucks. Visit today or browse online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
It is official, by the way, with Paul and Amanda. We just got an email and a video. We'll play that at some point, their wedding in Hawaii. He's not thinking about us right now, but he did send the video, so we appreciate that. We're joined by, again, Matt Brown, Extra Points, and also a part of the D1 Ticker. Very, very much entrenched in college athletics and much more. Matt, there's a lot I want to get to, including last week's news and the meeting in Washington, NIL, et cetera, whatever the IRS is saying. But what are your thoughts, some of the early returns on the SEC, their 2024 schedule? A&M will host Texas. We know Texas and Oklahoma we're going to keep playing, but Texas hosts Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama. Your thoughts?
I think it sounds like a lot of fun. I'm disappointed that the SEC is not immediately shifting to a 9-game conference schedule. I hope that happens in the near future, whatever it takes for this one transitional year. But my understanding is that everybody in the league is going to get to face either Texas or Oklahoma in the beginning, which should make for really compelling matchups for any kind of casual fan. The big frustration, I think, with the SEC scheduling over the last couple of years is that with only 8 games and with a league at this size, it feels like less of a conference because you might go your entire career not playing anybody or certainly not visiting every single campus from a football perspective. And now getting rid of the divisions, moving things up a little bit, I'm hopeful this is a step to more high quality, consistent SEC conference games in the course of the season.
Matt, in that regard, big matchups, that's what television wants. There's so many conversations going on right now about college football and what it looks like, what the configurations will be, what the money will be. The SEC is standing to gain a lot of money with this schedule, with these new teams. Just how do you feel like things are stacking up for those who fear or encourage the whole super conference idea? You see the way things are shaping up. Are you somebody who buys into that's where we're headed, or that's where we already are? Or are you somebody with a more optimistic, wide view that everybody's still going to have an invite to the big party?
Yeah, I to be honest with you, I've been pretty consistently anti a Big Two or some kind of college football Champions League thing until really the last 6 months. I don't think a formal breakaway or designation is something that's going to happen immediately. The impetus for this kind of change is less, to me, about television revenue, because we're still in a system where, yes, the SEC is going to make a lot more and the Big Ten is going to make a lot more, but you can still be very successful without making the most money if you are investing it the right way. We've seen this with Clemson. We've seen this historically with Florida State. We've seen this with schools in the Big 12 footprint. We've seen it with Texas, who's had plenty of money and will have plenty of money there before, but hasn't won anything meaningful in a long time. That may change over a decade plus. But as state laws change, as what's happening here with potential federal involvement, not just with NIL, but potentially with athlete employment, that could be not a straw that breaks the camel's back so much as a collection of very heavy 2x4s. That might those kind of changes are the things that I could see a breakaway of 40, 45, 50, 72, something else at the side. College football is something very different now. These kind of schools are going to commit to that, and everybody else is going to commit to something else.
Are those 2x4s lacquered? Like, have they been lacquered? Are they have nails in them too, just to make sure people can feel them?
I would have to defer to my friends in the Auburn community, who I think know more about pressurized, pine and timber than maybe that I do. But they're heavy enough to cause some significant damage.
What were your thoughts when the story came out last week about the NIL, the IRS? Was that just kind of a bluster, or is that a legitimate threat?
Oh, my friends, this is not bluster at all. This is dead serious. And I'll tell you, this has been a personal hobby horse of mine, actually, because I have been saying this on Extra Points for a year. Many professors of and recognized national experts in nonprofit accounting law, some of my publications, some elsewhere, have said this. And privately, many athletic directors and even some in the collective industry have all said the same thing. These large groups that are raising institutional amounts of money, 7, 8, above figures, that are registered as 501c3s, who are skating on extremely thin ice. And that day of reckoning may not come today, even after this memo. It might not come next week. It might not come for 6 months, because the IRS is backlogged. But it is going to come. You can call giving somebody $500,000 to speak at a charitable event and sign some autographs, a lot of things. But you cannot call a charity with a straight face to the IRS. That is the entity that's going to come after you here. So we have collectives that I think are going to be able to make a transition to a not-for-profit LLC model relatively easily. If you're not dependent on 10 gigantic donors, then moving to a more broad-based system and just not taking a cut, not a big deal. Some of these 501c3s for low majors, look, man, if you're raising charity, money to give to people at like Bryant or some Southland school or some FCS school, I don't think the IRS is going to come after you. But if you're Texas or Ohio State or Oklahoma or some of these entities that have kind of thumbed their nose at the IRS and flagrantly using your collectives or some of these collectives to try and recruit players, you are in big trouble. and that is something like, you should not talk to me. You should not tweet. You should call your attorneys because this is a legitimate, real concern that they should be worried about.
Matt, Texas just signed into law some new NIL regulations over the weekend. That's going to open things up. But we had Mack Rhodes, Baylor's AD, on, and he's taking a different approach. He's saying that, hey, the way that I read it, this is not all on the up and up as far as NCAA rules go, and so we're going to play it a little safer, and we're not going to risk the chance that we do something, we cross the line, and then we get punished for it later. I know others blow right past the stop sign, but is he unique in that regard? Is that a play that you think is smart, or is it more worth it to just go ahead and go for it because, what is the NCAA going to do in the end? How do you see that sort of a play?
Yeah, I would say that I would not blame anybody who works at Baylor to feel like they should, always err on the side of conservatism and caution.
True.
With the NCAA, with risk management in general, right? And you can see this with a couple of schools that have been burned pretty badly with the NCAA. Historically, they're looking at this a little bit more conservatively. I know of a couple of other schools within the Big 12 footprint, BYU obviously one of them, but also Cincinnati, also Iowa State, that are not going to try and take every tiny little advantage that they think that they have. And it's not just necessarily about NCAA risk. If you decide to go, we are going to be as aggressive as possible. We are going to marry our institutional fundraising arm with our NIL collective fundraising arm. We're going to try to grab as many bags as we possibly can and forget the NCAA. You might be okay on the NCAA front. I cannot sit here on the phone, fellas, and promise you that the NCAA will or will not do this future thing because it's a little bit of an irrational organization and we don't know what the law is going to be or the policy is going to be in a year. But I would argue there are significant organizational risks. If you're dependent on 12 rich guys to drop bags on your program, you're not the athletic director. The 12 rich guys are the athletic director. And there's a lot of people out here who are very good at selling cars in Texas or finding oil or selling financial services. But, brother, they are lousy at hiring football coaches and they're lousy at being general managers. We've seen programs in this state across the country that have listened to the money guys more than they have the professionals or the coaches or the athletic directors. So I don't blame anybody for wanting to be a little bit more conservative, especially at a place like Baylor where you're probably not going to sign 45 5-stars even if you were cheating. So why not try to do things a little bit closer to the book?
Matt, what is your end game, you think, or the end game with possibility of collegiate players not wanting just $500 or their attachment to EA Sports College Football?
Yeah, I will be honest here. I've done some reporting on this. The organization that has proposed the boycott, the National College Football Players Association, is a very small group. And it's a group where the majority of its current membership are not current college football players. There are people there are ex-NFL guys, people whose eligibility has expired, and they're trying to use this to raise awareness. I understand their intellectual and ideological argument. They are saying this deal was negotiated and created without any input from any current college football player. And I can understand why a player would be upset about that. Now, could anybody manage to get enough people to say, I'm not going to sign this game to actually, change that contract? I highly, highly doubt it. And I think anybody that talks to football players on a regular basis knows there are thousands of them that would do this for free if they got a copy of the game, because this was the only thing about NIL that they really deeply wanted. So, hey, you're telling me I got $500 in mailbox money and a free copy of this game to do the thing that I wanted more than anything else in the world to begin with? Organizing against that will be very hard, especially because, guys, this isn't Madden. If you're playing a college football game, everyone graduates in a year or two. Doesn't matter if Caleb Williams not in the game, because when you're firing up your dynasty for, Sam Houston State, by year 6, everyone's already gone. You're playing against computer players. It's not the same NFL experience, so the individual value of a right is not the same. I imagine the next deal will be better than $500 and a copy of the game. And you could, I think, credibly argue it's a little bit under market value. But I would be blown away if there was a significant labor action here to force EA and force one-team partners to change the deal.
Matt, do you think there's any possibility, or part of this is that so much now that the student athletes have gotten in the last 3 years, from the transfer portal to the NIL to really a lot that you now get with a scholarship, is not just you get to go to school for free, that a lot of athletes just want more? Not that they're greedy, but they now think their value is almost more than it should be?
Well, it's a tough question, right? And among the kind of athletes I talk to on a regular basis, you talk to people who do Olympic sports. We have thousands and thousands of athletes, and I think it's harder to find somebody who runs track or swims and says, "I'm exploited." And it's not hard, right? Because you're not typically generating revenue excess of tuition. You're going to find some athletes that are going to say, "I'm pretty good. I got all the muscle milk I could drink. I got some spending money in my pocket. I'm gonna walk away from college with with $50,000 and move on." And some people will be happy with that. And there are others are going to go, that I think it's still credibly point, but look at all the money in this ecosystem. And ultimately, what will be to drive the final result in all of this world, I don't think is the athlete organization. It's really the law. And if federal judges look at this and say, it doesn't really matter if most of you are happy with this situation, or if many of you think that your marketability is much higher than it actually is, because you're looking at made up on 3 numbers, or listening to some agent who didn't pass the bar and doesn't know what he's talking about. That's part of life. The question is not whether you have it pretty good. The question is whether you're compliant with the law. And that's what the judge is going to do here to make these decisions about employment. I do think it's important for fans to understand we could be heading down to a world where college athletes become employees or become something more structured than they are now, where many athletes get a worse deal than they have now. And I leave it to other people to say if that's more just, if the top 15%, get what they really deserve, and things get worse for everybody else. And if that's the most fair or just outcome, I could go either way. That's a real possibility of where this all ends up.
Last thing for you. Please explain to me. I have had a blast watching your Twitter feed about the athletic director simulator 3000. Is this a chance for anyone to try to be an athletic director of a college campus?
That is what we're trying to put together.
Wow.
And fellas, I'm not a software developer by trade. I'm a writer. We brought in some contractors. I learned some coding here myself, but it's in the beta version right now. And what it is, the game is going to look a little bit like the Oregon Trail. We're talking 8-bit audio, black and green screen. But you're going to start as the AD of a place like an Abilene Christian, like a UTRGV, some kind of low major FCS school. And you're going to be given a variety of very realistic situations that an athletic director might face. Everything from coach hiring to licensing deals to apparel contracts to a parent is mad at your baseball coach to the bus broke down outside of Tulsa to all of these kind of things. And you have to manage your budget and your winning percentage and your local political support. And there's not a right answer because in real life you can make right decisions and things blow up in your face because that's how college sports works. And we built it primarily to be something that helps students who are studying sports management or might want to work in college athletics. But once we teased that, we realized a bunch of fans were interested and even a couple of ADs. So if you subscribe to Extra Points, which you can find at extrapointsmb.com, you can play this game now. Everybody else, once I finish the typos or fixing the typos and make a couple more quality of life improvements, we hope to have this out for the general public at the end of July.
Man, that's awesome. I mean, that is absolutely awesome. We hope it works out. When you get it done, we will absolutely get you on the show to talk about it, help sell it.
I love it.
And get it out there as well. Matt, as always, great stuff. We appreciate your time.
Of course. Hey, thanks, fellas. I appreciate you having me on. Have a great rest of your week.
You too. Matt Brown, publisher of Extra Points. That's kind of like fantasy football as an AD. You learn, I don't know, the budgets or whatever it is, hiring people. That will be, I don't have any idea how that's going to work, but I will absolutely want to be a part of it.
Yeah, I mean, he got me when he said similar to Oregon Trail. For anybody about my age group or so, we definitely have some nostalgia whenever that gets brought up, having played it in school and whatnot over the years. So, yeah, I can definitely see myself jumping into that and having fun with the idea that he's proposed there of playing AD and running an athletic department, doing all that. So very much looking forward to seeing that continue to progress, and very happy that he's getting that thing going and getting some excitement surrounding it, obviously getting some feedback on it if you look at his Twitter feed. So that's awesome. Good for him, and a lot of good stuff there from Matt, who does a great job covering college sports. And I think in particular with the football video game, I mean, that really is something to watch. I saw a tweet from our buddy Pete Nakos earlier of the Brander Group, released a statement surrounding the college football game from EA Sports, saying, although the game is not set to launch until next year, we are concerned that EA is pushing to compel all the various entities into agreements that may be short of fair market value. So I'm sure that, there's going to be, like he said, real sports agents or otherwise, right. Not so much, things that are sort of shady and some that aren't. But, there's always going to be that element, especially in college sports, especially with all the money that's flowing. But I do wonder here, whether it's the Brander Group or whoever else, of, what exactly are we talking about? Because, yeah, sure, maybe Quinn Ewers isn't getting enough if he's only making $500 off this video game. But we do realize that he is the minority, not the majority, right? That these college stars aren't the majority of the players that will be on this game. Matter of fact, they are dwarfed by the number of just other total players from all the various schools. So that'll be a little dilemma to solve, but hopefully it's nothing that completely derails the project. And if so, EA knows what to do. Just pivot, and we'll all fill in the names ourselves. And, there's a workaround that everybody knows all too well who's played NCAA video games before, so that'll be interesting to see.
We'll have Dan Wetzel from Yahoo Sports at around 4:10 today. Ross Dellinger was going to join us, SI, at 4:30, but he's not feeling well, so we'll try to get him tomorrow or Friday or even Monday. When we come back, it's the week of the U.S. Open at Los Angeles Country Club. We will have our picks. Emery's a part of it. Garrett, are you? Craig?
I'm not a golf guy.
Okay, so it'll be the three of us up here, plus Rob Bolton, PGA Tour. He's next to analyze all of that, and this is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry, and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets to T-bone to bone-in ribeyes, cut specifically the way you want. They have Norwegian salmon fillets, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey and lunch meat, variety of cheese available, and several options of sausage links, fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, ground beef, marinated beef, and chicken fajitas, and always large briskets available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and family tradition of the Bauer family continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday. A full-service butcher shop and bakery available. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Chuck Verno, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Chuck Verno, 720 North 64th Street in Waco, 254-732-1161. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Well, it's a unique week at the U.S. Open at LA North. I had the honor to play there back in 1992, actually the Super Bowl 27, the week the Cowboys and Bills played, thanks to the late Reggie Howell, who had tremendous connections when it came to the game of golf. And they are hosting the Open. Rob Bolton, PGAtour.com, joins us. We'll have the picks here, Rob. By the way, you're picking third. Paul's out. He got married officially in the last hour. A lot of moving parts. But about the course itself, they've never really wanted this. They finally decided, okay, your thoughts, what kind of course is LA North?
Hey, guys. First of all, I thought I'm an enthusiastic guy, but Matt Brown blows me away. It makes me feel like a sloth. Really compelling interview there.
Thank you.
I was gripped, hanging in every word. And secondly, if his video game with the AD pays off, which it sounds like it will, that sounds awesome. He imagine what it would be like with the PGA Tour as the model for that.
Oh, absolutely. Right. Yeah. It might turn into more. It might be a lot of fun. Yeah, it might spawn off. You're right.
Right. Yeah. So LACC is, I remember talking with you guys ahead of the PGA Championship last year with Southern Hills and the imagery and how gorgeous it was, and it really developed into an incredible tournament with Justin Thomas upending Will Zalatoris in the playoff. Gil Hance and Jim Wagner were on the scene of that in advance to restore it. I'm getting the same sort of ethos from those guys, Jeff Shackelford, the writer / architect wizard that he is, was part of this project at LACC. It's going to pop, and I think it's trying to. There's only so many words you can use to describe this place, and in the modern terminology in our lingo today, it's going to complete, it's going to fill, it's going to cover the bingo card. We're going to have every score, we're going to have every shot in the bag, every club in the bag. We're going to see some crazy things. The weather's looks like it's going to cooperate aside from a morning marine layer, so it's going to present its best self. This is, in a weird way, on a strange foreign place because this tournament hasn't been there in 75 years. It's gonna be exactly what we want out of the U.S. Open. It's gonna be a phenomenal week. I cannot wait to see the action.
All right, I'm going to ask you after we draft, and then you tear down our teams, about the Live and PGA story last week, and then even now the commissioner's out with a health-related issue. Yeah. But we'll get into that following our draft. So here we are. It's the U.S. Open. Each person gets a four-man team. We go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then back the other direction. Emery's 1, Craig is 2, Rob 3, and then I will pick at number 4. And Emery, you are on the set with us. Good to see you. You get the first pick.
With the first pick, I'm going to go with Scotty Scheffler.
Is it Rob, is that kind of almost like not overwhelming, but a heavy, heavy favorite this week, Scotty Scheffler?
The narrative entering was that if he would have just putted a little bit better at Memorial, he would have pretty much ran away with that tournament. And even he said if he could just find the hole, he would have won it. You don't normally hear a guy talk about it like that because he kind of come across as braggadocious, but he gets away with it because he's Scotty Scheffler. He is, speaking of video games, that's the kind of golf he's been playing. You can't win every week, but he's coming so darn close. And because the course is unfamiliar to most, ball strikers should have the upper hand until some of these greens are learned. The whole locations and just the distances from tee to green, they're going to change every day because that's what this course can yield. So if you think about ball strikers, he's the best in the world. So absolutely, it's a well-deserved favorite.
All right, Craig Smoak, number 2.
I'll go John Rahm.
John Rahm at 2. Rob?
Oh, wait, Craig, I've never felt so great about scoring like 73 over to beat you at the PGA.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I mean, come on.
That was wild, but congratulations on the victory. Yeah.
I don't think Matt and his crew are going to be coding that sort of thing into their game because that would not be maybe the best way to spend your time. So moving forward and segueing from the PGA champion into my first-round pick, Brooks Koepka.
You know, no matter whenever we pick whatever tournaments, I can never get him. I'm always one less pick from Brooks Koepka. I am going to take. God, he just scares the hell out of me. I'm still going to take him, Rory McIlroy, and I'm going to take Victor Hovland.
So, as it concerns my power rankings, we've basically gone 1 through 5 here, and you took either one of the two guys I was going to take next. So, in my opinion, there's a relative drop-off then to Patrick Cantlay at number 6. However, I'm going to drop to number 8 in my power rankings to grab a Southern California who always plays his game plays up in this tournament. 4 top 10s on a T14 and 5 last 5 U.S. Open. Xander Schauffele.
Okay, good pick. All right, back to you, Craig.
Okay, I will go with. Let's see here, Max Homa.
I love Max Homa. God, he's fun to watch. All right, Emery, you get back-to-back picks.
With my first one, I'm going to go with Patrick Cantlay.
All right, there's the one that Rob had brought up. And
then I'm going to go with Cam Smith.
Cam Smith, great pick. Back to you, Craig.
Jordan Spieth.
Man, if he's hitting his driver okay, he could be dangerous. Rob?
We're all avoiding Tyrrell Hatton. I'll just say it out loud.
His name is jumping out. He's jumping out of my face. Yeah, I'm not going to take him though, but
yeah,
I might.
Paul with the ultimate excuse not to take Tyrrell Hatton in a major. I'm not going to either. I'm sticking with a guy who, man, there's some cosmic energy surrounding him this week and this season. The next guy available in my power rankings after Tyrrell Hatton is Ricky Fowler, so give me Ricky.
You know, what has he done, Rob, that has improved his game? Is he working with Butch Harmon? Or is it something, because he does look so much more comfortable?
Yeah, man. Working with Butch Harmon, full stop. He's a magician. What he does, the way he gets through, what he lets you do. He's kind of like, well, I'm not a golfer. I've never met Butch Harmon. I've met people who've spoken with him, so I'm very, very, 11th degree. But the vibe I get is that he's like the best kind of pitching coach. Mm-hmm. You never know about him, but he's the Ray Searage of the Pittsburgh Pirates 10 years ago. Like you hear about him, but only because you hear about it through other people. And Butch Harmon, obviously, he's the highest paid instructor in the world, deserves it, and he can connect with people like Ricky Fowler in a time when they really need it.
I'm happy
Fowler
for him.
obviously put this trust in him.
Yeah, happy. I don't know why. He seems to have been out of whack, but I'm going to still lock in with Justin Thomas and then Matthew Fitzpatrick, the defending champion.
Okay.
All right. No, you didn't like that. You liked my first two. You just basically just.
Yeah, no, he took JT's he's kryptonite at the moment, and then Fitzpatrick would have been a pick. So you got me 3 times here today.
Good. I can
sleep.
I'll sleep well tonight.
Yeah. So look, I'm gonna put my pick where my words are and take Tyrrell Hatton.
Okay. I love watching him play. They should put a mic on him, but they'd get fined by the FCC. All right, Craig, back to you for your final. Yes, your final pick.
Has Colin Morikawa been?
No,
selected?
he is not.
I'll go with the LA guy.
Absolutely, loves the big moment tournaments. And Emery, you close it out.
So for this last pick, I'm going a little out on a limb. I'm gonna go with Austin Eckroat.
Oh, really?
Yep, I got to show him some love.
Well, curveball here.
Rob, I'll let you be the next. Thank you, Emery. Great to have you up on the set. Rob, you want to...
Emery, everybody, in case we haven't...
By the way, it's Emery Winter, who is amazing with his editing for what we do at 10:30 each night on the CW and every day and getting things out throughout the social media stratosphere. Rob, critique the teams.
Yeah, I if this was if this was a draft in which we all had to donate a couple bucks, I'd want to make sure that before Emery leaves, he leaves his donation to the rest of us. Just because of the Eckroat pick at the end there. No, look, I joke because it is so out there. I don't know if we've had a flyer pick in any of these. Maybe Tiger Woods a few years ago, and he probably paid off anyway. But you got to get your guy, and it's more fun now for Emery this week, so I love that part of it. Look, JT and Morikawa, both those guys, not in my power rankings this week for various reasons. I'm actually leaning hard into Morikawa for top 10 just because I'm again, a little bit of that synergy. He has some of that recent experience, albeit 6 years ago at LECC, and I'll give him a little bit of a nod for that. And he's just so comfortable in his own skin. He's in the right place. So, Craig, I love the last round pick you got there. Homa is what can you say that hasn't been said about Max Homa? He's the darling of this event. He's had this event circled on his calendar for years, and here he is. So certainly a lot of pressure there, but if anybody can handle it, it's going to be that guy. And David, obviously, you already know you took 3 of my picks. So yeah, thanks for playing.
All right. So
but I love the team.
No, I feel pretty good about that. I know that, man, Rory, he has not played well in the final days, but and Hovland coming off what he did. JT's been a little bit up and down. In fact, Fitzpatrick's been kind of under the radar. All right, so, Rob, you wake up last Tuesday morning. We had Jimmy Walker on. He was phenomenal with an honest and transparent, his opinion. What did you think, and what has been your opinion now that a week has gone by of the Live and PGA Tour story from a week ago?
It's everybody has their reaction to it. I think my takeaway overall, start there, is just that all the rhetoric you're hearing about didn't know anything and didn't know about it in advance, and some of the whiffs of we knew there was some conversations, didn't think it was going to happen this fast. As an outsider to most things in the world, I typically roll my eyes like, yeah, sure, whatever. But then being sort of attached to this in my tangential way that I am as a virtual independent contractor writing about fantasy for the PGA Tour's website, it's true. It happened in real time for an incredibly high percentage of the people that I know. And certainly none of those people that had any whiff of it passed it along for obvious reasons. My immediate reaction was relief, just that there's been a step forward from what has been a reality for a long time now. Even though in earnest it's been a year, it feels like so much more, and obviously there's been a lot of chatter before that. I actually heard about it from a buddy who emailed me asking me questions about what we're supposed to do about it for my fantasy league, as if I had already heard the news, and he actually dropped it on me. Not a morning guy, ended up getting it confirmed, and I'm like, oh, I guess this is a real thing. And obviously news travels fast, and you heard about Jay Monahan suffering from a medical condition as of yesterday, and so we're all responding and reacting to that in real time now as well during the U.S. Open. As far as what's going to happen, don't know. I mean, every day seems to present so much more new news. I'm basically just caught up on everything that I bookmarked as of late last night, just so that I'd be prepared for a conversation today with you guys. Honestly, it's been so much, and I watched the CNBC interview with Jay and Yasser. That was on the full show last week. So what's Squawk Box, I believe it's called. Finally watched that in its entirety. Just really, literally getting caught up just for the job, and so still learning a lot myself. It's maybe we'll have more in a month when we convene for the Open Championship.
Can't wait to watch and see this course. I honestly got a chance to play it the week of Super Bowl 27 with the late and great friend of mine, Reggie Howe. Thank you so much, Rob. Enjoy the tournament. Enjoy the views, everybody. And again, it starts first thing tomorrow morning, and it ought to be one heck of a 4-day run to see who can win the U.S. Open. Thanks for your time, and love your job and what you do with PGAtour.com.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You guys are the best. I'll talk to you next time.
Rob Bolton, PGA Tour analyst, fantasy golf, and we appreciate his time. I think everybody, that Eckroat, is that a personal pick for you? Is that a buddy? Do you know him from your hometown?
So one of my best girlfriends that I grew up with, she recently just married Austin. So
you mentioned that a few weeks ago.
I had to show him some love.
There you go. Craig, great pick. Depends on what Spieth does. Rob's got great picks. Depends on what Fowler does. And then I have 4 mega guys, but not sure if I have any finishers. Hovland had that PGA Championship right there with Koepka, and he had that bunker Ball stayed in the bunker. Emery, I love all the other ones, all steady picks. We will, again, everybody must make the cut. If you have a player that misses the cut, and in the open, who knows, then your team is disqualified. I just put up a promotion in the chat room on how you can win a dozen golf balls that I will buy and send to one person. I know that doesn't seem like much. Email me, read the instructions, email me 4 names. Scores don't matter where they are. If they all end up in the top 10, you have a chance to win a dozen golf balls. The first person that emails based on timestamp, if there's a tie, would win the dozen golf balls. I hope that makes sense. I put it up in the chat room. Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports, is next. 365 Sports. Pioneer still in pipe since 1943. Bigger, better, faster, and stronger, and they were already really, really good at what they did in business since 1943, but they have a brand new location on the east side of I-35 in what is Loop 340 or also Highway 6. They have pipe, steel, they have metal. Their distribution, which was always very efficient, is now mega efficient because they have more bays, more space, more opportunities to get you loaded up, whether it's your trailer, your pickup truck, whatever it is, or if somebody's going to deliver the product to you, the site, commercial real estate, and also help you unload it. They have a showroom of 2,500 square feet. It's massive, and they have over 1,000 new products, and a lot of what they have, also the new products, but also different lengths of the products they have, whether it's metal, steel, pipe, whether it's tubing. They now have it cut for you rather than you buying the product, cutting it yourself, or having somebody else do it. That's going to save you time. Pioneer boys are phenomenal. The number one thing, they've been in business since 1943, and they are thriving. PioneerBoys.com.
The future's bright. The time is now. College is what you make it. It's a late night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Petty Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. Once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
365 Sports rolls on this 4 o'clock hour. And joined by Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports has been covering the college landscape and a lot of other stories in the world of sports for many, many years. Dan, thank you for your time with Craig. I'm David Smoak. First of all, have you ever seen so many different type of stories merging at once and changes in college athletics during a 1 or 2 year period like we have right now?
No, a new era is clearly upon us, and we're in the transition of a new era. I mean, you got conference realignment, name, image, and likeness, the relaxed transfer portal, the college football playoff coming. That's probably just 4 of them. We could probably break those down into subgroups. So it's a really interesting time for the sports, for all of them, but particularly football, which, obviously the most popular.
Dan, let's break down some of those. I mean, you mentioned realignment. We've talked a lot, being in Big 12 country, about that ad nauseum, if you will. Nothing really bubbling up this week. There's been months and months, obviously, of back and forth talks and all of that. What is your general take on the waiting game when it comes to the Pac-12 and whatever may spawn from that, whether it's sufficient enough or not?
Obviously it's about how much money this Pac-12 deal is worth. Can they, is it too low or is it, it has to make sense for the Pac-12 schools to leave. So I think it has to be considerably below what the Big 12 is offering, right? I think it's 31 or so million a year for the Big 12. I don't, none of these other schools, these 10 schools of the Pac-12 have agreed to everything, revenue sharing, scheduling playoffs. They're ready to do their grant of rights. They're just waiting for the check to come in. And my guess is if it's within maybe even 20% of that 31 number, maybe even 25 million, that's enough for those schools to stay put. Or maybe that won't be, or maybe it will, but it'll be something like that. I don't expect those schools to go. They want to be together in the Pac-12. But if it's at that 20% below, or maybe a little bit more, then I think you're going to see maybe a Colorado or somebody take a jump, and then everything could crumble down. But my sense is they want to be out there. It's just, is there enough money? And does the Big 12 offer that proper alternative for them? And then if the Pac-12 stays put, does the Big 12 try to still add teams? Does it, what's going on? It's very, very aggressive, obviously. It's very public. Doesn't mind stories out there about them looking around. Definitely talk about a new day. I mean, these things to be done in the cloak of secrecy. No one wanted to dare even whisper that something might be happening. The Big 12's just out there with an open for business sign.
What do you think of the brashness or brazenness, whatever you would like to refer to it as or describe it as, of Brett Yormark? Obviously, he's a different figure than a lot of college athletics people are used to seeing. That's kind of been the trend, though, of TV guys coming into the game as commissioners or people like a Brett Yormark. What do you think? I mean, he's obviously ruffling some feathers, good and bad, but what do you make of it all?
Well, I think he's there. He's there to serve the Big 12. And 22 months ago, when Texas and Oklahoma announced they were leaving for the SEC, there were some, and I'm sure your audience remembers, you guys remember, there were some dark days where it was, is this league going to last? Will it last a week? Everyone, who's leaving. So being aggressive and showing strength has really stabilized the Big 12, where, they're in a position to add. They put the Pac-12 on its heels. They've made great moves to pick up some very good American Athletic Conference teams at BYU. They're out there. Hey, let's have a bowl game in Mexico. Let's have maybe we'll play a game at Rucker Park in Harlem in basketball. Let's do this. Let's do that. And I think they needed somebody to come in and say, look, this is a great league. We got great markets. Yeah. Are we going to be the SEC and Big Ten now? We don't have the population outside of the state of Texas to be able to maybe do that or those brands, But the idea 2 years ago or almost 2 years ago, someone called in and said, hey, you'd be surprised at how strong and united the Big 12 is in those dark weeks after OU and Texas decide to leave. I think anyone would take this deal. So I applaud whatever he's done to stabilize the league. I'm in favor of as many leagues as possible.
Dan, back in 21 after the Texas OU SEC story, the Big 12 reacted quickly. Bob Bowlesby. You're right, we did shows when we didn't know what was going to happen with the schools we covered, the conference we covered. But one of the schools that was very much on the radar, whether it was heavily at the top or what, was Memphis. And I don't know what the story was. Were they ready or not? Was there a delay? But I was told that they were absolutely someone the Big 12 was more than just interested in. And then there was the story last week about Yormark in Memphis, whether on campus or what, and then he denied it. What's your take on Memphis in the Big 12?
Oh, I don't know if the Big 12 needs anyone right now, but Memphis to me makes a ton of sense and always did. It's had a good, solid football program. It's had a great basketball program in the past and certainly could. It fits in a lot of ways in what the Big 12 is trying to do. There's a connection in Memphis between the school and the people of Memphis that you don't always get with these city schools. For a long time, there was no pro sports there. There obviously is the Grizzlies now, but they sell out the NBA stadium for basketball. They have the Liberty Bowl when they're winning, they get good attendance. It's not a forced deal like you have sometimes with city schools. I would certainly say the connection between the University of Memphis and the people in Memphis is greater than University of Cincinnati and the people in Cincinnati, where they've long had two pro teams. So, it's right there in the middle of the SEC. It's not that far. I don't know why it's been passed over. But I certainly, if they're considering adding, if it's one of those deals where, hey, we're going to add Colorado and one other team, Memphis to me makes an enormous amount of sense for that. I don't know what the downside would be to Memphis if this is the standard.
We have started to see some of the leaks of the SEC schedule that will be released later on tonight. The OU and Texas first version for next year. Obviously, a lot of excitement surrounding that. And there was the dust up, I guess, headlines wise, as far as what the SEC decided to do with scheduling, at least in the immediate future. What were your thoughts on all that, Dan? Was it as big of a deal as maybe it was portrayed to be? Was it not a big deal at all? Or, was the SEC maybe making a misstep for the first time in a long time?
In what specifically?
In not having nine conference games.
Oh, 9 conference.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm in favor of the 9 conference games. I'm in favor of these leagues. If you're gonna spend all your time wrecking traditions, changing things, trying to marginalize other teams and leagues, and you're going to create this big, huge league. At least give college sports fans the games they want to see and more of them. If you're going to have this big league, then I want more Oklahoma and Alabama and Texas and LSU and whatever. They're doing this in the Big Ten too. They Penn State, Ohio State, and Penn State, Michigan were annual games. Now they're every other year. Well, I would posit that even in your listenership, if there were 3 games in the Big Ten people wanted to watch, it's Ohio State, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan, Penn State. Well, they just took 2 of them and made them every other year instead of every year. That's not giving fans and all of us that have to go through all this change, that have to get streaming services, that are seeing all the uncertainty. Heck, at least promise me better games or more games. So I'd like to see 9 for the SEC. I think they're going to get there. I'd like to see maybe a little better scheduling from the Big Ten. But, this is where we're at. And look, if there's one thing that overrides all of it, we're going to get to see Texas versus Texas A&M. I'm sure you guys are waiting for that. I've been waiting for that, and I don't live in Texas. So that's been one of arguably the biggest casualty of conference realignment was losing Longhorns, Aggies, and at least that's coming back. See, like that, and this is why they need to go 9, right? Because you need to play that every year. You're going to play Texas and Oklahoma. That's got to be, if you're only going to have one rivalry game for Texas, yes, it has to be Oklahoma. You got to play it up in Dallas, all that. But we also need Texas and Texas A&M to play every single year. Like, why would you not give the sport, the fans, the schools, all of that, and say, oh, no, sorry, we can't do that because this school that, Mississippi State's worried about getting 5 wins or something like that. I don't care. If we're going to do this, let's do this.
Yeah, and I thought that when they had some of it released today, that Texas, I don't know if you could have picked a better first year. They have Oklahoma. You knew that. We knew that. Yep. A&M on the road. They're playing Arkansas, and they've played them a few times since even Arkansas left for the SEC. And then a home game against Georgia. And, I mean, Texas will play those type of non-conference games anyway. And so I think I'm thrilled with and that's just a part of it. Oklahoma, Alabama, that makes sense. I'm looking forward to it. As much as they get nailed as they should for 8 games, not 9, looks like they may have gotten this one right.
They got some great games for Texas. And it's just, if you go 9, you're going to get those more often, right? That's it. It just seems so simple to me. But obviously, there's all sorts of different factions. People that they're worried about competitiveness, they're winning or fairness and all this stuff. I'd like to just say, hey, let's get the best games going. Let's do this. But in terms of the first year, fantastic for it's going to either be fantastic or horrible. But for those of us that just want to watch it, Longhorns that's 4 games, certainly 3. And that Arkansas game obviously has tremendous historical and local interest, and it should be a good game. But right there, that is at least 3 games where the University of Texas is in the game of the week in college football. That's a great thing for the Longhorn program and the school and the fans and all of that.
This is kind of just off the cuff thought as you were saying that, but do you think of the 4, and I know that it probably takes some time to really think this through, but does Texas stand to gain the most perhaps with the SEC versus Oklahoma versus the LA schools out in the Big Ten, or does one of those others maybe seem like they could probably stand to gain more if things go well moving forward?
Well, here's the thing. It's going to be hard to win. Texas was in a league where it had the advantage over everybody in terms of resources, proximity to talent, budgets, potential, all of those things. Oklahoma certainly had no one's going to weep for the Sooners. They got plenty of advantages too. But so in terms of going to the SEC, you're going to get a lot of high profile games. You're going to get mentioned in the biggest league and all of that. But you're now not, you're looking eye to eye to people. It's not looking up a little bit at them. And that's the difference for Texas. Can they, if Texas is rolling it's reasonable for Texas to go into a Big 12 season and say, hey, we have one game against Oklahoma that, it's a fair fight. It's not that TCU couldn't beat us or Baylor couldn't beat us or someone couldn't beat us, but we should beat those schools. That isn't going to be the case anymore. There's at least 5 or 6 schools that look at Texas and go, yeah, that's fine. We got just as much, if not more. So that's going to be the interesting reality for the Longhorns. They weren't able to capitalize in the Big 12. How do they handle this? So, but it's certainly going to be a fascinating story. But certainly in terms of first year attention, yeah, I mean, Texas is going to be a big story no matter what happens in the 2024 season.
I just was reminded in the chat room by Scotty that, Dan, they have Michigan in 2024 in the non-conference too. That's
okay, 4.
Yeah. 10.
Yeah, I mean, it is the year. It's the Longhorn year. And, I mean, look, put it this way. This is the new reality. And Michigan's in Michigan, right?
I believe, I believe so. Yeah, at the big house.
So you're at Michigan. You're at A&M. Your neutral site with Oklahoma. You're at Arkansas. We'll take Arkansas as the 5th. I mean, when at Arkansas is your 5th best game, oh boy, and you got Georgia coming. You go 3-2 against that. I mean, that's good. That's just good. I'm sorry, but you go 3-2, you go 4-1, you should be ecstatic. That's the new reality of college football.
And in time for the in time for the expanded playoff too.
Yeah, and hopefully the committee understands that, because it's like, well, yeah, we lost at Michigan, but it's not easy to win at Michigan, Or we had to go up to Fayetteville and they went crazy up there. But you're at Michigan, at A&M, and at Fayetteville, and then who knows what the rest of the schedule will be. But just those 3, it's going to be a grind, but it's going to be really exciting. There's a lot of downsides to conference realignment. I don't like it. I didn't want it. If I could wave a magic wand, we go back. But there's also going to be a lot of fun games and exciting times for the schools that are in that position.
What are your thoughts? Last thing, Dan. Thanks for your time, by the way. Great to have you back on the show. Your podcast with Pat and Ross, and the one I listened to, I mean, that made my ribs hurt. I was laughing a few times at how much fun you guys have. It's a great podcast that I was able to listen to. So apparently the Big 12 did meet in person with Colorado. That's been reported. We've mentioned that, and maybe others have too. Is that unique in that you have a team that's a part of a conference and that is out there? Is that how unique do you think that is? Because most of this is cloak and dagger, as you mentioned, or meet at midnight somewhere where no one knows where we are.
Yeah, other than ones where it's, obvious moves, right? Where you're just saying, hey, look, I don't know, whatever. Memphis is going to not be shy about saying they're meeting with somebody. But, Maryland, when Maryland and jumped to the big, and Rutgers jumped to the, whatever, they went to the Big Ten, it was a shocker. And then when Pitt and Syracuse went to the ACC, it was a shocker. And then OU, Texas is, pretty much a shocker. Mm-hmm. And then UCLA and USC. I mean, we've had them almost year after year after year here. So for a school that is in a Power 5 league, we still have those, to just blatantly be like, yeah, we're looking at options. Here's the other thing about Colorado. They were 1-11 last year. Like, they have no basketball program. Like, I know they have Deion Sanders now, which might be the single, nothing could change perspective of a program more than what Deion Sanders did without even coaching a game.
Yep.
But Colorado, this is not like, hey, Oklahoma, you interested in us? Like, okay, you get that. Colorado, who the heck wants Colorado? There's no recruits. They don't have a lot of fans, and they've been absolutely terrible for years. And they're just like, yeah, we're just, we're playing the field here, checking things out. Amazing times. But that's the spot they're in. No one wants to be left flat-footed. Everyone's got to get out in front of it. And if the walls start crumbling, you got to get out. And Colorado, of all people, is ready to do it, apparently.
Dan, great stuff. Thank you very much for your time. We appreciate your time. Dan Wetzel, Yahoo Sports with us, college football, many different angles, and there are so many things that have converged in recent years along the way. We will come back and we'll discuss a little bit anything else about what Dan just mentioned. The chat room, thank you for what's going on. We'll have the Arlington or Bowie High School in Arlington head coach Joseph Sam on Baylor's commitment. Chris Wokema, who committed to safety, the 4-star safety, depends on what rankings you look at. We'll have him on to kind of critique his safety in the next segment. Craig, anything from Wetzel that jumped out at you, although there was a bunch of information to chew on?
Yeah, I think just he's like everybody else that, is following this realignment saga of it just all, again, comes back down to the numbers. I mean, you can put whatever you want to out there as far as what's happening behind the scenes and, what's this school thinking and what's that school thinking. I mean, bottom line, and I reiterate this every time just because it's just black and white. I mean, it really is. The money's good enough or it's not. I mean, that's really as simple as it gets. And, the money is going to have to be a severe enough difference that it makes somebody it forces somebody into a decision. And I think that's the part that, sometimes gets lost is like, oh, it's going to be less. Yeah, but how much less? Like, it has to be significantly less. It's not $5 million is not enough.
Nope, because you might add $2 or $3 million in travel costs.
$10 million is not enough. So, yeah, I mean, it would have to be a pretty large number. But until we know that, then you speculate and you wonder. And that's what we're all doing. And we're all just waiting for that number to come in. And obviously there's the exposure part of it as well. I'm not forgetting that. But money is what makes everything go, ultimately. And if that money's large enough, guess what? They'd be on Ion every night at 7 p.m. if Ion was paying them enough to be on there. So yeah, it all comes back to that dollar figure, and we all wait on that. But he had a lot of thoughts that were of interest. I think I asked him that really off the cuff question about Texas and if they have the most to gain, because I was sitting here in my head thinking, who could be the team that has the most to gain, which in my mind could be Texas, and who could be the team with the most to lose, which in my mind goes to Oklahoma, actually, of the 4 teams going into their new places. Because
would you have said OU if this was 4 years ago?
Yeah, why wouldn't I? What's the difference now?
Well, because they were really good 4 years ago.
Yeah, but they really can't gain anything else. I mean, what are they going to be? How is Oklahoma going to be a bigger brand really than they are? And I know the answer will be, well, how's Texas going to be as well? But Texas has maintained that despite not having regular success. Yeah. They've been just popular, or they've been successful and popular. But Oklahoma, I feel like, has been popular, but they've also been pretty successful. Like, they can't get over the national championship hurdle since 2000. That has been a major thorn in their side. They've had a handful of chances, and they cannot, for the life of them, get over that hill to get championship number 8. But I don't see, outside of just that move right there, how much really bigger they can get, if that makes sense. I think people know, like Oklahoma, they've proven it. Texas has too, but I just don't feel like to that same. I still feel like they're sort of that program that's never really ruled atop the mountain for a long period of time.
They had the stretch of about 7, 8, 9, 10 years with Mac.
But they weren't on top of the mountain. They were still losing to Oklahoma. Well, they won it. Hear me out here. They won a national championship, but they've always had Oklahoma just a step above or right there even with. They've never been Texas the way Texas
the last
portrays
parts
itself.
Of that decade, they were right on top of each other. They were right next to each other.
Right. They've never been like the clear number one brand in college football, and there's no question about that. And so
winning.
That's what you have to be.
Well, no, but you say brand. I mean, Texas is a brand, whether they're 2 and 10.
I mean winning. Yes, I mean winning with that. So what I'm trying to say is they can stand to win more than they have. Oklahoma can by just winning a national title. Texas, though, I think has room to perhaps grow and become even bigger or more established than they already are. USC, I feel like they could stand to gain something, but they've always just been kind of that West Coast power anyways, right? Mm-hmm. And they've got a bunch of national titles, and they've got a bunch of Heisman Trophy winners and all of that. UCLA, I mean, I can suppose they could be the one that stands the most to gain, actually, because they're not looked at in that way as the others are. But I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying or not.
No, everyone here is totally get it, Craig.
But UCLA might be the one, actually, because they've got such a room to go from where they are to the ceiling.
They can improve themselves dramatically in football terms.
Right. But I think Texas is the one that can take the most advantage of this if they play the cards right.
But I like his honesty here.
No, sure.
When he said that if they have not been able to beat the teams that are a part of the Big 12 outside of Oklahoma, then what are they going to do? Now, they're trying to set themselves up with that, with their recruiting, the NIL, the momentum they have across the board in athletics. We got to take a break, but it's a great point.
But I think Oklahoma has the most to lose in all of this, because when you're winning the conference every single year, you're consistently playing for national championships. And now you're going right there, buddy, where, he talks about you're looking eye to eye or looking up. I mean, that's them too.
Are they going to be, and I don't think so, are they going to end up being Nebraska?
Arkansas?
Like, I don't think so.
Right. They're going to be Ole Miss. They're going to be Ole Miss.
Oklahoma?
Yep.
No damn way.
Yeah.
No. They will be.
They'll be better than Ole Miss.
Listen, Oklahoma is a national brand. They're not quite as big when it comes to money, whatever, is Texas and all that. But Oklahoma is Oklahoma for a reason.
Yeah.
They were elite in the Big 8 when Nebraska was great and Colorado was really good. And they're Oklahoma. I think it doesn't mean they're going to go run 8 or 9 or even 3 or 4 straight conference titles. But I think what Craig is saying, they have the most to lose because they have a chance that even if they're pretty good, it's going to be a step back for what they're used to.
Yeah, I think do you mean Ole Miss in terms of where they could finish, perhaps, is what you're
I think they're going to be right there with Ole Miss.
In an Ole
they're
Miss
about to become a new Ole Miss.
Yeah, but historically, that's not even compared. Ole Miss is
not historically.
But OU has owned Texas. Let's not forget that. I mean, I know Texas beat the crap out of them last year, but Oklahoma, I think we're just looking at what Venables did the first year. If he doesn't work out, they'll find somebody else. They're not going to be mediocre. They might struggle, but they're not going to just go into mediocrity like Nebraska.
No, I mean they just won't.
We have a guest to get to.
I understand that, but I think this is an interesting conversation.
It is.
They have. Yes, they will not stop until they're right where they feel they need to be, but they could plummet down a little while before they get back to that point and have to crawl back up.
I agree with that. That not every school can win, and that's what you're also referring to. I mean, think about it. If LSU's at a high level, Georgia's at a high level, Alabama's a high level, Auburn might, who knows what they're going to do. And then now you have all these others, and then you add both Texas and Oklahoma. It's a lot of fun. I love the schedule. When we come back, the commitment today for Baylor, the head football coach at Bowie High School in Arlington, is going to join us, Joseph Sam, and this is 365 Sports. Marco's Pizza. I just went online, and they got this video of this pizza with cheese just like tugging at the crust as they're pulling it off whatever the platter might be, with a bunch of pepperoni, a bunch of sausage. It's the unlimited, of course, what you want. If you like pepperoni and sausage, it's the pepperoni sausage magnifico. It starts at $9.99. It depends on what you want, whether it's sausage by itself, pepperoni by itself, or combine the two. And then the unlimited medium one-topping pizzas, $6.99 a piece. Go online, marcos.com, and also use the code word MED699. They have drinks, they have pizza bowls, they have salads, they have sandwiches, they have what you need, even gift cards if you want, gift cards if you want to get it by email. 5 locations in Central Texas in the Waco area. Bob Mock's been in the pizza business forever. Know him. Fantastic what he knows about the pizza business. Hewitt, Woodway, Robinson, China Spring, and also in Belmead. And on top of that, Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan, and at pioneersboys.com.
Aaron Duvall, owner, Texas Beef House. Why did you get into this business?
We kind of were born into it, and it's been for several generations. Our family's been in the beef business, the ranching business, and we've specifically got into the beef business back in about 2015 when me and my son decided to form Texas Beef House and sell directly to the public.
Aaron, everyone knows about Wagyu and how elite that is when it comes to beef. What separates you from anyone else that may do this in this type profession?
We selected out Wagyu mainly because it's such a quality beef and it's consistent. Some beef, some breeds, you may have a good animal every now and then, but Wagyu produces really consistently good beef every time.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house. When you order from Texas Beef House, unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive is premier, elite, life-changing experience where you can change your mind, body, and soul. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. If you haven't been there in quite some time, you're missing out on the improvements for our members. New flooring in the weight room and locker room, new paint and mirrors added in the weight room and group exercise room, with more new machines arriving over the next few months. New free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, new elliptical machines on spacious weight room floor. Personal training with Christy London, Randall Corley, and Alex Botch, where you will be encouraged and motivated to grow. There's sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. The amenities are great. 16 tennis courts plus an 1,100-seat stadium court, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Visit our website, wacotennis.com, or visit Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
It is 4:45, and thanks to all of the guests, some of you have made comments about all of them. We're about to have another one. I think you'll enjoy it as well if you're a Baylor fan because of a commitment, but also he's a high school football coach from a program that produces fantastic talent. And we're joined by Joseph Sam, the head coach at Bowie High School in Arlington. Coach, this is David Smoak, Craig Smoak with me as well. So if I just asked you, and you didn't know me, but if I asked you, tell me about Chris Wokema, what would you say about your young player?
I would tell you right now that he's an alpha dog that is not afraid to mix it up with the big boys.
Well, there you go. That said it all right there. He's got a little that little edge in his neck, right?
Yes, sir. He's undoubtedly the not only an emotional leader, but also I call him, he's the alpha on the defense, and all the kids respect him, not just because of his talent, but also his work ethic.
Let me ask you this. You guys have Bowie has produced some people, I mean, some young players that have gone on to play and done very well in college football. What was the recruitment, and do you know kind of when Baylor entered? Were they early? Have they been in touch with them a long, long time, or was this something that developed in the last few weeks or months?
No, I think they've kind of been in contact with him since his, I would say, the spring of his sophomore year, going through the fall of his junior year. I know Coach Curtis was one of the first people to kind of reach out, contact him. I know, our recruiting coordinators and things do a lot of things to get our kids exposure, but I know Coach Curtis was one of the first guys to kind of reach through Coach Foster to reach out, kind of contact them, start building that relationship with them. And, Christopher is one of those kids that, he just felt the most comfortable being at Waco and the Baylor Bears. I know he went down for a camp the summer of his sophomore year and earned that offer to Baylor. And then, the relationship has just blossomed since then.
If you would have heard the story, or if he would have committed pretty much to anywhere in the country, you wouldn't be surprised of who would be interested in him, would you?
No, sir. No, he had a lot of suitors. A lot of them obviously were in the state of Texas with pretty much all the Texas schools. When it comes to his recruitment, I know out of state, he definitely had a lot of interest there. I know for a fact he had over, I think, 30, 35 offers, something like that, all around the country. So I know the Baylor Bears are definitely getting a good one.
Coach, I know you've got coaches in and out of your hallways and your offices recruiting all the time, and just the number of talented players that you've had over the years in that program. But what's it like to see a young man make his decision to be, pursued by so many different schools and the chase and all of that, but when they come to their decision and that they're going to be on solid footing moving forward and be going off to play football and get an education, just what does that mean to you personally as a coach?
It means the world to me. Obviously, being a high school football coach, you definitely want to develop these young men into the best young men, be better young men than they were when they first got to you. You don't want to send off what I call bad goods to any university, but we celebrate all our student athletes regardless of level here at Arlington Bowie, because we know that that's a generational change, not just for his life, but the trajectory of his family lineage as well.
How would you describe, other than he's an alpha dog, as a leader, as someone who probably, people are magnetized to what he does? How would you describe him as a football player? Is he a ball hawk? Is he a physical tackler? How would you describe him?
So the thing I tell everybody is that he's probably the second best safety I've ever coached. And that's saying a lot. That's definitely saying a lot, because the number one safety I've ever coached, his name was Catalina. And but I would say he's a hard-hitting safety that can cover the best receiver on the field. It's probably the best way to explain his own. I think what he does best is stump people. He's not afraid to tackle anybody at any level. And like I said, but he can also take the best receiver on the opposing team's side and take him away, especially those pesky slot receivers.
Joseph, what are your thoughts when Dave Aranda came in from LSU as a part of that national championship team, and his first year they had the COVID, everybody dealt with that, so did you. But then they were 12-2, and I mean their defense was downright nasty. Last year didn't end quite the way they wanted, but watching them play defense, your thoughts on just what Baylor does with Dave Aranda?
I definitely think he does a great job of maximizing his personnel. At Baylor, I think he's at LSU and also at Baylor, I think he's done a really good job of catering his team to his personnel. Some years he's been more 4 down than 3 down, and other years he's been more 3 down than 4 down. But I think he does a great job of seeing what his kids can do the best and catering that to their skill set.
So what was it like for today around the program? I know it's summertime. I'm not sure if you guys are having some summer workouts or whatever, but just the fact he's committed, and you get more, of course, players that do that, but what the day meant to Bowie High School.
We were all fired up for him. I know one of our coaches who plays football at Baylor, and he's also a Bowie love as well, so he was kind of sticking his chest out a little bit about that. But it was a celebration on campus. The only bad thing was that he was in summer school at lunch when he made it known to everybody that he was committed. So we'll definitely celebrate. We'll definitely celebrate with him tomorrow. But like I said, I know from a coaching perspective, we were all fired up for him when we heard the news.
You mentioned Jalen Catalina, and he was fantastic. You were at Mansfield, I think, when he was there. Was that right after or still before Jeff Hume left for Midway?
That was before Jeff Hume. I think that was probably in 2019. I think Jeff Hume got there in the, I want to say 2021, either 2021 or 2022 season.
So there's a legacy there with guys that we know. And Mansfield, of course, has cranked out some great talent. Kennedy Brooks from Mansfield High School, perhaps one of the best ever. Joseph, thank you very much. As far as one thing on him, he seems to be, I've talked with a couple of others, seems to be a great young man. You mentioned a leader. Just overall, your thoughts about him as a person?
I think he's a really great kid. You know, he takes coaching, takes hard coaching. He's definitely the kind of kid that, you know, not only is going to make you better as a coach, but he's going to make your program better because he's going to understand. He understands work ethic. He had two brothers that played college football. His dad's a great man as well. You know, he stays on top of his grades with his dad. So I just think that, you know, you're overall, even off the field, you're getting a young man that all he wants to do is play football, loves the Lord, and wants to do what's best to help his team win.
Thank you very much. Again, Joseph, we appreciate the insight you've been able to give us throughout the day and also for being a part of today's show, too. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate y'all, and go Vols, and y'all are getting a really good one.
Yes, sir. Joseph Sam Bowie, football coach out of Arlington, with us on 365 Sports to give us a little feedback on the commitment of Chris Wokema, who committed today, class of 2024 safety, and boy, do they need some depth and in that secondary, even though, again, that will be next year. Baylor did get, again, trying to add to the mix. They lost McCarthy, filling that gap. There will be maybe one or two others that they pick up before it is said and done. When we come back, the 5 o'clock hour, including Eli Letterman. He writes for the Tulsa World. He covers Oklahoma. He also has been all over that story about the softball star pitcher who's now going back home to Nebraska. He's been working on that. John Machota today, and a couple of minutes with Andrew Marchand and John Orand and what they had today in their podcast. This is 365 Sports. Stonewood Dental, Robinson, Texas. My dentist, Dr. Steve Childress, has been fantastic and has really allowed me to understand dental hygiene. No, okay, you brush your teeth, you floss your teeth, you make sure you don't eat bad sweets, whatever. Well, you can say that and you can know that. That doesn't mean you always do that. I used to have a terrible habit, an absolutely terrible habit of just always having multiple lozenges in my mouth. When I was doing a broadcast, when I went to sleep at times, yeah, you worried about it, maybe one of them getting caught in my throat. It was just kind of not an addiction, but it was something that I did. It was a habit, a bad habit, and I paid for it because some of my teeth weren't very healthy because I didn't take care of them. But Dr. Steve Childress and his staff at Stonewood Dental, they've taken care of me, and they've really helped me get ahead of the curve. I got another appointment coming up on July the 6th. I believe because of that back right molar in the bottom part of my mouth that was fixed, it was just enough to just repair it for now. There's no pain. There's not sensitivity, but I'm going to probably get a root canal to stay ahead of the pain and make sure we take care of that. When Dr. Childress says we have to do this or we're going to do this, I believe him because he's been right every single time. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
3 Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new 3 Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning 3 Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses. When it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why we take the time to understand your needs. Knowing you, that's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott in Conroe at 936-756-7717. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Boozers is the wedding ring store and more. If you're ready to get engaged or already married and want to upgrade your wife's ring for a special anniversary, Boozers is the place to go. With the largest selection of premier quality diamond engagement rings and wedding rings in Central Texas. They have 7 cases with over 300 styles of rings from top designers like Natalie Kay. Choose from yellow, white, or rose gold, plus beautiful top quality loose diamonds. With an in-house jeweler, they can also custom make anything you want. Bring in a picture or drawing and let Boozers create your one-of-a-kind pendant or ring. They can even use some of your old gold and diamond jewelry to create something new. At Boozers, you'll find a great selection of quality timepieces, and Boozers is the place for expert watch maintenance and repairs too. They specialize in expert Rolex watch repair for fine jewelry, watches, custom work, and more. Go to Boozers on Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Boozers, the wedding ring store and more.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
This is 365 Sports. Want more updates during the day? Follow 365 Sports YT on Twitter.
We start this 5 o'clock hour. Craig Smoak, David Smoak. This is 365 Sports. And, man, the chat room has been back and forth. And at the beginning of the opening segment when we discussed Mike Leach being honored by Tech in September, and will be a very emotional weekend with the former and late Texas Tech and obviously Washington State and a part of Mississippi State when he passed away. We've discussed the SEC and some of the early notes that have been released about the schedule, and I love what I've seen so far, but there's other games that will be released too. Man, and there's always the story. Now, so I'm working out this morning. I have my AirPods in, and I see that the podcast with Andrew Marchand, New York Post, and John Oran of the Sports Business Journal has been dropped. So I started listening to it while I'm on the Stairmaster. And then 38 minutes into it, and you're going to hear a couple of minutes clip. Nothing here is earth-shattering, but there are some nuggets that will be interesting to what either Marchand or Oran have to say about, yes, something they touch on every single week in the Pac-12 TV contract and media deal.
Well, it wouldn't be a Mando podcast without talk of the Pac-12, Andrew. And last week we had Kirk Schultz, who's the president of Washington State, publicly saying that he expects to have the details of the Pac-12's media rights deal by the end of the month. The end of the month, Andrew, is a little more than 2 weeks away. What are you hearing?
The big question is where that would be, and look, if we can go down all of them, ESPN, unlikely. Amazon, unlikely. CBS, no. NBC USA, no. Fox, no. Okay, those are the biggest players. Then you get into Apple. They're a little bit of a wild card. I've heard certain things, but nothing definitively where I'm 100% sure where it stands with Apple. But I lean towards, I'll just so people don't take that the wrong way, lean toward probably not. But I don't know sure exactly. But they also, the Pac-12 has said they don't want to do just an all digital deal. And that's what Apple is pretty much looks like that's their strategy. Of course, they do the baseball deal, but this is a little bit different than the baseball deal. So that leaves the CW, Scripps, and those type of players. What do you think on those type of guys?
There had been reports that they were talking to those companies probably a couple of months ago by now that my sources denied and said that they weren't talking to those companies. When Schultz makes those comments, it's hard because we can report what we know, but we can't report what we don't know. And so what we know is when you went down that roster about no after no after no, I'm not sure if ESPN's a no. They're just sort of not a yes for a big package and a big payment, which is I think
that's where it is. I guess, yeah, the ESPN, I would say if they were to get a deal with ESPN, it probably would be for low money. So if they get on ESPN, yeah, I think if they went to ESPN and say, hey, let's do a deal, and it's like $20 million per team or something, then I think maybe they could do that, or maybe in that range. I would be very surprised if they got the same as the Big 12 from ESPN. Very surprised.
They would have to cobble a lot of different pieces together in order to get that.
All right, so one of the things I heard in there, again, was that not even sure that there was a little bit of, I'm not even sure about Apple. They didn't say not Apple, but they were discussing part of that. And they brought up a lot of the different networks or companies that people have tried to figure out who's it going to be when it comes to linear, regular television, or cable. But there they are. And so a lot of times you hear man, can you guys stop talking about it? It's impossible to not talk about until there is a final score, whatever that score is and what happens afterwards. With most likely, you would think the conference can figure out a way. You hope, if you're a part of the Pac-12 or not, I would think that they could work this out.
Well, a lot of time's passed since the last time we heard something similar from those guys who do a great job, and sounds like nothing's really changed. If anything, the number of suitors or the amount maybe is lessened from the last time we checked in there. So it lines up with a lot of what's been said or reported. There's been an attempt to really debunk a lot of, everything that's not necessarily pro Pac-12 as some sort of an agenda. By the way, I hope they got their check from Endeavor for that segment. But, there's been a lot of trying to debunk, and it's like, okay, so, there's no chance anything's happening. Nobody's interested yet. We know for a fact Colorado's actually met with the Big 12. And then you can try and say, well, I don't know how you spin it. They met with them. That's not nothing. I don't care what the contract says or that there's not a contract that immediately followed that. You don't do that if there's not a level of interest, right? So to say that there's just nothing and all this is just completely made up or whatever attempt there's been to try and paint it that way, it's just so obviously not true. So obviously not true. As far as them getting a deal and all that, I still believe that's going to happen. I don't think anybody doesn't think they'll get a deal. But again, it just all circles back to what kind of a deal is that? And so, again, that's the question. That's the only question that really matters was what that deal looks like, particularly the money part of it. And, as far as when that comes, here we got another date. I think this one now, everybody's talking about it a bit more than we've talked about the previous 10 dates or whatever that have come up from time to time.
Well, because time is it's condensed now more than ever.
It's June 14th.
Yeah.
We talked about it's been. I just told you yesterday. I'm sitting there on YouTube, just looking at stuff, and a John Wilner video pops up, and he's talking to somebody from the Arizona paper or outlet, and they're discussing things that if you were to sit there and say this was released on June 13th, 2023, I would have believed you. But it was like of 2022. It was from their media days last year. And basically nothing had changed outside of just like maybe there's more SMU talk now, or there's more San Diego State, there's more this or more that. I mean, if anything, there's been more trimmed from the possibilities over the last year than there has been additional, like in terms of the networks involved and what their possibilities are and the opportunities and the money, and the whole industry has changed since then. So it's a little bit out of date in that regard, but you could play it right now and it would basically line up the exact same as it did back then of don't know where, don't know for how much, don't know this and don't know that, just know the Pac-12 wants to stick together. And that's where we are a year later. So those guys obviously have great sources. They're all over the media game. And, they really don't have as far as to my knowledge, any, Big 12 tie or anything that would make them like want to dunk on the Pac. If anything, I would think that they've probably got more allies out there than, media business wise than within the Big 12. But regardless, I mean, they're just echoing what we're all kind of seeing as well, and that's that until we see a figure, then these conversations are going to continue and the speculation is going to continue, and you can hate it all you want to, but, I mean, that's just the reality is that there's a lot of implications to what that end result is for the Big 12, for the Pac, for SMU, for San Diego State, and the trickle effect. So that's why it's of interest. And there's the element of like, there's some people that just want to see that conference die now because it was not open to accepting Big 12 teams once upon a time. That's not a big deal to me. Like, I mean, I can wrap my head around that. But the part of like why is it realignment's interesting just in general? I mean, why are we talking about the ACC when they've got a 13-year contract remaining and no indication outside of a little scuttlebutt here and there that that's going to be broken? Because it's interesting and because it affects the whole entire ecosystem. And so that's going to continue to be an interesting story until it's not. And the moment it won't be is when they present that TV deal. But again, when is that going to happen?
Yep, I thought it was worth playing the clip. I've asked John to come on the show a handful of times, including even today when I was listening to it. At some point that will happen. We have given you today numerous opinions, as we did, of course, and we try to do every single day for you to also decide how you want to think about a certain topic.
Yeah, and I enjoy I don't listen necessarily every episode, just life, right? I can't listen in have everything or just everything or whatever I'm trying to say here. But I do get around to it from time to time, and in particular if I know that they're speaking about, that subject or just realignment in general, because they were all over, the Big Ten TV deal and, the various other TV deals that will be coming down the pipeline. I'm sure they'll speak about that as well. But they do a lot of the pro sports stuff, and it's just amazing to see how much that part of the industry has really blown up, the coverage of the coverage, so to speak. And now you're a SportsCenter anchor, and you're basically like, SportsCenter anchors are always going back to Dan Patrick and Overman and all those guys, Berman, all the early ESPN folks. But now it's like it's on a different kind of a level of the coverage, and they do a good job with all that.
All right, when we come back, Eli Letterman of the Tulsa World, he covers Oklahoma. He has been all over the story about the softball pitcher Jordy Ball headed back to her home state of Nebraska, which is a shocking story, leaving the two-time or three-time champion. She's been a part of them twice, but mainly about Oklahoma as they enter into the summer and much more. And this is 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, they are the people that you can count on for a great deal, for great customer service, and for a great ride. Whether you're looking to buy new or pre-owned, Richard Carr can hook you up with either new or pre-owned vehicles. They've got them all over the lot right now. And as far as the newest vehicles on the lot as they celebrate their 24th anniversary sales event, you can get savings on the Sierra trucks. Dozens of Sierra trucks on the lot right now. including the 2023 GMC Sierra SLT or SLE 1500. You can get 2.9% financing on a new 2023 GMC Sierra truck, but they've got other details they can give you when you contact them over the dealership, whether that's by phone, in person, or over the email. But they can get into the nitty-gritty of the pricing and the savings and all those types of things. But right now, 2.9% financing on dozens of Sierra trucks. They've also got the Buick lineup of SUVs for 2023, from the Encores to the Envisions to the Enclaves. Qualified buyers can get low financing and save $2,500 on Enclave Premium, $3,500 on Enclave Avenir. Both those from the Buick line. And again, you can get more details on pricing, financing, all of those sorts of things by contacting the great folks over at Richard Carr, who also have a lot full of quality pre-owned cars and trucks, and many of them ringing in under $20,000. So if you're not looking to splurge and spend big on a new vehicle, or you're just not interested in even being reasonably priced, but you're not looking for a brand new vehicle, well, they've got a lot of pre-owned cars and trucks in stock right now that you can go and check out. They're affordable, thoroughly inspected, and ready to finance for almost any credit rating, plus ready to drive today. And if you're just looking to take care of the car that you already have, the truck, the SUV that you've had for a while or had for a short amount of time, need to get something fixed up on it like I did a while back after having a couple of wrecks, so to speak, minor wrecks. They were the people that I counted on, and you can count on them as well. Go to richardcar.com, see their service specials, and set an appointment for quick and reliable service. For 24 years in Central Texas, run by proud Central Texans, log on to richardcar.com today. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, raise your cholesterol, and cause weight gain. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results. So if you're tired of being tired, call or go online at pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $165 a month, including lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, and follow-up visits, compared to $300 or more a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to drive 90 miles one way or the other and fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T has board-certified physician consultations and will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone. Contact Petty Clinic Low T for increased energy, improvement in sexual desire and performance, mood, concentration, even a decrease in body and belly fat. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, pettycliniclowt.com.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Garrett, somehow we're going to have to be able to take that video, or I have a still photo of Paul and also Amanda officially getting married about 2 hours ago in Hawaii. Are we going to be able to get that video going to load up or not? We're going to try to figure that out.
I'm still waiting for it to download. We'll see.
Really? Okay, we'll try to get to that. So we're now joined by Eli Letterman of the Tulsa World, and he joins us on 365 Sports on YouTube. And Eli, thank you very much for your time. Obviously, when I contacted you, I wanted to discuss I asked you about Oklahoma State. Now you're covering Oklahoma. But let's start, though, with a story because of their success, the amazing run of OU women in softball. And Jordy Ball, was this like completely out of nowhere, her decision to go back to her home state of Nebraska?
Yeah, it certainly would have been hard to believe. I mean, today's Wednesday. This time last week, this game would have been game 1 of the championship series in Oklahoma City. Thursday night, she was on the mound to close out a 3rd straight title, and it would have been hard to believe right then and there that Jordy Ball would be leaving the program less than 5 days later. But the rumors had been there at the World Series, and they intensified over the weekend as we found out from Patty Gasso that they met Friday, and that Jordy Ball kind of made her intention clear that she planned to return home to Nebraska, and that's how she termed it in her statement. And so over the weekend, it was, rumors turned to, what we were expecting. And then Monday it came. But as you say, from the very mountaintop there for OU softball with Jordy Ball, in the circle to close it out against Florida State, to 5 days later, she's headed elsewhere. And the Sooners have another thing on their list for the offseason retool.
Eli Letterman with us on the Tulsa World on Oklahoma. And just the run itself. 3 consecutive titles, the winning streak, the fact that their loss was to Baylor early on in an invitational tournament. And just, have you ever seen anything more dominating maybe than like UConn women's basketball?
I've certainly never covered anything more dominant because there really was a sense, and maybe this would have been the case with UConn women's hoops, early 2010s or some other teams like this where, most games you go cover, there's at least an expectation it could go either way. And very rarely, or if ever, in the latter half of the season, did you go in expecting anything other than an OU win. And it's what made some of those close games, in regional with Clemson. People remember Kinsey Hansen's game tying home run. They got pushed a little bit in OKC, but they really, from about, I guess, that invitational in against Baylor on, they just had their foot on the pedal, and they were so clearly head and shoulders above everyone else, even in the games where they got pushed, that I don't know that I have seen that kind of dominance before.
Eli, we got the email, I'm sure you did too, from the Big 12 for us to pick the preseason offense, defense, special teams, whatever, player of the years, but also the media poll. And I've been doing this now for quite some time. I have no damn clue, excuse my language, of how I'm going to try to start that poll. Have you even thought about it yet?
To be honest with you, no. We're gearing up here in the next, 45 minutes for, believe it or not, an SEC schedule to think about in 24.
Sure.
But, forecasting this time of year, it's so tough. But I think as well, this Big 12, and it'll be the last one. Well, I guess we've already had the last one of the old iteration, because this year you're bringing in four new teams and keeping the 2 that are about to leave. Texas, obviously, it's the most popular offseason pick every year, and then Oklahoma's not too far off there. And this time last year, what would any of us said about TCU? So I got that same email. I know I've got to sit down and think about that ballot, but evaluating any of these teams this time of year, especially with how tight it appears the conference could be, it's going to be hard.
Eli used to be able to just put Oklahoma at number one and then not really sweat it too much. Definitely don't feel that's the case this year. Used to be able to fill out 5 or 6 names pretty much right away, especially the quarterback spot. Not really the case this year. I mean, there's 4 new schools as well to have to add into the mix, but they're just kind of a puzzle to me. And I'm an Oklahoma fan, and I don't quite know what to expect heading into this season. That seems to be the case with fellow OU fans I talk to, but you're right there in the heart of that territory. What do you feel like is the sort of general sentiment or concerns, optimism? How would you describe the feeling heading into this football season for Brent Venables in year 2?
I mean, internally around the program, everything we heard in spring camp and since is they just feel a lot better this year. Last year was such a, everything that came from the second Lincoln Riley left for USC to Brent Venables arriving to that first off season, a spring game with 75,000 people, and then into a season, where that disappointed first losing season since 1998. All of that, this you get into year 2 and they only had one assistant spot to fill. Things feel a lot more settled. They've gone, and I think Brent Venables made a point of opening his spring camp presser, his initial one, noting how few guys were still around from the team he inherited or from that Alamo Bowl team in 2021. Point there being that they've either got guys who are still here and who they've wanted to keep around, or they've brought a lot in the portal. They love the class they brought. Everything feels a bit more settled in year 2. Externally, away from that, among the fan base, I think people are skeptical about a defense that struggled a lot last year. I think they feel like the defense will be better inside those walls. Jeff Levy and Dylan Gabriel certainly left among at least the more critical end of the fan base some things left to be desired and to be proven probably in the early months this season, or maybe more importantly in the later months. So there's, I like you said, in the past you could have pegged them. I don't know if you can peg this team this year quite the same way, but my guess, and certainly the feeling within the program would be that this will be a year of improvement.
Eli, they had what was a good class of 2023. They're obviously doing well. Oklahoma's going to recruit no matter what. But how important was it to see Venables close out the class of 2023, especially finishing with what they did last year?
I think that was huge. That's something to hold up against the 6 and 7 season, but the reality is that Brent Venables, and any coach for that matter, they're only going to be as good as the roster. Maybe last year was a good example of that, and what it looked like for OU. So the fact that they finished with, whether you go to the composite rankings of 247, the 4th overall class, or the regular ranking 6, a top 5-ish class for Brent Venables and co in year 1 is massive. Not only because that's how you build, but because sooner maybe than they are perhaps ready to be there, the Sooners will be in the SEC, and we know what kind of recruiting they're going to have to do there. And I think you can certainly look past or find causes for a reason like last season why you go 6 and 7 with a team you've just inherited, but a lot harder to tell a picture of the future if you're not recruiting. And in year 1 they did that. We'll see. I'm sure this summer it's going to heat up for them. Recruiting is going to be at the heart of everything they do, especially when they hop to a new conference.
So you mentioned that the SEC schedule release will be out here in under an hour. We've already seen some leaks, Oklahoma and Alabama in Norman, it looks like. Has there been anything else that maybe we've missed out on hosting that has slipped through the cracks as far as the schedule goes? Anything to your knowledge? I guess obviously they're going to play Texas and Dallas, but besides that, any idea on what to expect?
You stole my scoop. I was going to say Texas is the one that's guaranteed. Yeah, we've heard pretty well reported that Alabama's going to come here in 24. That's big. That may wind up being pretty far and away the biggest, regular season matchup in Norman and close to a decade at that point. It's all Twitter speculation, right? There's rumors that they may be headed to South Carolina in 2024. There's Shane Beamer links there. I think some people have done the math to figure out that Spencer Rattler could technically still be playing then. But beyond that, we're sort of in the dark. I think, the other SEC schools that still have their kind of, game tie-ins or year-to-year rotations have a slightly better senses of what it's going to look like. For OU and Texas, it's a completely blank slate. And I guess what we do know, or has been reported, is that, they're going to play 7 different teams essentially, and that everyone in the conference will get one of OU or Texas. and that should make for an interesting break.
What about Oklahoma State and as they split up between the SEC and the Big 12? I saw a note you may have had on your Twitter timeline with Joe Castiglione. Is that simmering or maybe not even that warm?
Well, it's a matter of football and non-football, right? I think that it's been made clear that non-football, the Bedlam rivalry will continue, and all those other sports, it's a lot easier to schedule a men's or women's basketball game in state or softball or baseball or anything beyond that. Football, from probably the reason we're in this spot, and OU and Texas are leaving the Big 12. That's a football decision, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is a football thing, and whatever bad blood is there is one thing. The other is just scheduling. And Oklahoma State made this point from the very jump, and after everything kind of went down in July 21, that they weren't going to bend over backwards to make this work, nor should they. And Chad Weiberg has made that clear. So it's going to be a matter, probably there's going to be components that relate to how the SEC lands on a scheduling model. How many non-conference games does OU have each year? What does it look like for Oklahoma State, the future of the Big 12? Because I can guess that Oklahoma State is not going to want to play 9 conference games and then make Oklahoma one of their non-cons, at least certainly not breaking contracts to do so. So it may be a bit of time, and that might be viewed by some as, a cooling off period. It also may just come down to contracts and what's really doable when there's so many moving plates on a future scheduling basis.
Eli, thank you. Great job covering that transfer story, which was normally maybe a blip on the radar, but because of their success and who's leaving, and also an update with Oklahoma. Good luck covering that schedule tonight. Looks like it's going to be a hell of a deal. I mean, you saw where Texas has Arkansas, OU, A&M, Georgia, and they have a non-conference game already scheduled with Michigan, not to mention whoever else they have on their conference schedule.
If I didn't underscore that recruiting point enough, there you go. They're going to need to find success on that trail, because if not, the schedule's certainly about to get tougher.
Thank you for your time, Eli Letterman, Tulsa World on Oklahoma, not Oklahoma State, on Oklahoma, with us on 365 Sports. When we come back, John Machota covers the Cowboys, the Athletic. His thoughts about the offseason, what's next, anything brewing with any possibilities of some of the free agents that are out there. There's always, anytime there's a large name. Oh, by the way, you see where Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, they're buddies again, right? After a day when Diggs missed a workout. But thoughts about any of the big names, always put them next to the Cowboys and they're going to get attention. How much of it is legit? This is 365 Sports. DiscoverWoodway.com with a list of what the events they have coming up. Featured events this summer, including their 4th of July parade, which is on, of course, 4th of July from 9 a.m. until 11 a.m. And then also they have a playground ribbon cutting in July for Whitehall. That's the playground that's a part of Discover Woodway with a lot of renovations. And, man, they've really done some great work with some of their major buildings where events are held. We've told you about the Evening of Stories and Songs Acoustic Night, July 19th. But also the Woodway Family Movie Night is on August the 11th at 8 o'clock until 8:30. There's a wine and food fest in September. Cops and Kids Halloween Drive, always every year around the, of course, bend into the fall of October. DiscoverWoodway.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
The future's bright, the time is now.
College is what you make it. It's a late night pizza run and all-nighters coding a new project. It's having big dreams and making them a reality. It's a professor who knows your name and your story. It's preparation for your future, your calling, your life. And at Baylor, it's even more. Baylor, where lights shine bright.
Where is the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House.
Samantha Duvall is in charge of marketing and also distribution. Memorial Day, right around the corner, 4th of July. What are some of the best opportunities for people if they want to order online and maybe get a bundle when they have those holidays in front of them?
TexasBeefHouse.com. You can order. We've got plenty of family bundles. Probably our most bestseller is our sampler pack. That gives you a variety of our jalapeno and cheese patties, our regular patties, ground beef, our garlic link summer sausage. Right now, all of our family bundles are on sale. It's the best time to buy it. You can buy steaks individually. All of our steaks come 2 to a package. We ship Monday through Wednesday. So make sure you get your orders in early. That way you can get them almost the next day.
The owner, Aaron Duvall, his daughter-in-law, Samantha Duvall, head of marketing and distribution, unleash the flavor of Texas raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com. At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of health care while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of health care has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
It's Jeep season at Allen Samuels in Waco, and the deals are hot. Get a 2023 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo with $5,500 in total values, or a 2023 Jeep Gladiator Sport with total values up to $6,000.
This is 365 Sports. Are you a Sikkim 365 super fan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
We will get to John Machota in a minute from The Athletic, but we have what would be considered like a breaking news from a couple hours ago when we started the show. We mentioned that Paul, Catalina, and Amanda, they got married about exactly the time we started the show. And Garrett, we have video. Is that right? And with possibly some audio,
Possibly
too.
some audio.
We'll see.
Let's see what we're working with.
To be your wedded husband, your best friend, your only true love. If so, please say, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
To live together, play together, and laugh together. To work by his side and support his dreams. To fill his heart, to feed his soul. To always seek out the best in him. Always loving him until the end of your forever. Again, please say, I do. Always do a double confirmation of I do. Paul, can you repeat these words after me? These will be your vows. I, Paul.
I, Paul.
Take you, Amanda.
Take you, Amanda.
Be my wedded wife.
To be my wedded wife.
My constant friend.
My constant friend.
My faithful partner.
My faithful partner.
My love from this day forth.
My love from this day forth.
I promise to love you unconditionally.
I promise to love you unconditionally.
To encourage and inspire you.
To encourage and inspire you.
To honor and respect you.
To honor and respect you.
To laugh and cry with you.
To laugh and cry with you.
And I will cherish you.
And I will cherish you.
Now and forever.
Now and forever.
All right, and then Amanda, of course, had her part of it. That's awesome. All of you are responding to it. Congrats. Awesome. Beautiful. Love this. Amanda, Paul. And congratulations to Amanda and Paul. Great to get the video.
Absolutely. Good for them. and best of luck to them moving forward on the rest of their journey, whether it's the immediate honeymoon or just in life. Excited for both of them, especially for Paul. And I know he used to swear, I'm never getting married. I used to say, BS, dude. First time that you come across somebody that you're interested in, you'll fall in love, and, the rest will be history. And Paul was never not going to get married. I never believed that for 1 second. Then he met Amanda sometime after that, and sure enough, here he is saying his vows. So good for him, and couldn't happen to a better guy.
So we're proud of Paul and Amanda, the family there in Hawaii, and he'll be back and give him a couple weeks, this week, next week, and then we'll demand he's back immediately after the flight, 8 hours or whatever it is, from Hawaii back into Texas. John Machota, Florida State. You couldn't see the video, John, but Paul got married about an hour and a half, 2 hours ago.
That is wild. Like, listen to that. I didn't even know that. Hey, good for him. I can relate to that a little bit about the whole never getting married thing. I've never said that, but I've always kind of, I don't know. I got too much going on with work right now, but you never know. I mean, and he's a great example of that. I'm happy for them. That's awesome.
John, the offseason, of course, Cowboys had their mandatory minicamp, et cetera. There are some stories out there. Stephon Diggs dominated Buffalo's news yesterday because he wasn't there. And apparently he and Josh Allen have kissed and made up, or the Bills have at least. There was a one-day try to send a message. That's always an intriguing name, even though the Cowboys are happy at wide receiver, but that's a big name. Trayvon, of course. Has that ever been kind of a wish list that he might be so mad he would leave and Dallas would be a part of that?
Yeah, I could see that being a possibility. The only thing is that I just don't see Dallas. I don't know, like, obviously some projecting is involved with it. So I don't see it happening this year with what they did with Brandon Cooks, and then they have Mike Galt. So I guess maybe in another year or so. The only issue I have is that CeeDee Lamb is shown that he is, a number one type receiver. Do they really have the money to have another number one type receiver like Stephon Diggs when they still have to pay Dak again, and Micah Parsons have to pay Trayvon Diggs, and CeeDee Lamb? I don't know that the money is there to do it, and I also don't think Stephon Diggs is going to take less to play, in Dallas with his brother, unless it's like later in his career type thing where they're like, hey, it would be really cool if we won one together. But I just find it hard to believe that they would get Stephon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb on the same team, both in the prime of their careers, while paying a franchise quarterback, paying both those receivers, like two of the top receivers in the league, and then paying Micah Parsons, Trayvon Diggs. If it was the Yankees and there's no salary cap in baseball, okay, I could see paying the luxury tax. I just don't see it happening in the NFL.
So what about DeAndre Hopkins? Is there anything to him and the Cowboys at all having interest?
Nothing as of right now, and it sounds like that, DeAndre Hopkins still wants to be paid pretty well. Same thing with the Dalvin Cook thing. I know that both those names, when it comes to the Cowboys, people, connect them, but for what they're likely looking for, the Cowboys aren't going to be paying that. Again, paying CeeDee Lamb, paying Tony Pollard. They're not going to put that type of money into those positions. The only way the Hopkins thing was ever going to happen is if he was willing to take a lot less. But I have never gotten the sense that they had a ton of interest in him like the way they did with, let's say, Brandon Cooks or Odell Beckham. And I don't know what DeAndre Hopkins looks like right now. I mean, he hasn't been the same receiver, obviously, the last couple of years that he was, a couple of years ago. And I think there's kind of a reason that he's still out there right now. Maybe he gets with the right team and he looks like the DeAndre Hopkins that's one of, if not the best receivers in the league. But I think there's some questions there. And I think that it closed the door with the Cowboys when they made that move for Brandon Cooks.
So, John, whatever it's going to be referred to as the Texas Coast offense, Third Coast offense, whatever, Mike McCarthy, Dak Prescott, there's been a lot of talk about what exactly we're going to see next season now that Kellen Moore's off in Los Angeles after that decision was made. Just what have you kind of been able to gather and glean from being around the team, OTAs, minicamps, and all that, hearing from Dak, obviously? What are maybe some of the things that stood out to you from that?
Yeah, unfortunately, the way that OTAs and minicamp went, I mean, it was really like walkthrough type stuff. There was no 11 on 11, no pads or anything like that. And you could tell they were being even more cautious than in previous off seasons because, I mean, Mike McCarthy's been fine the last two off seasons. They've been, they've lost practices because there was too much contact and been penalized by the league. And so there wasn't a ton that you could see on the field. I will say that Brandon Cook's speed, as you guys have probably heard, definitely looks legit. Definitely looks like something that will be a welcome addition to add another piece to the offense. But in terms of, watching them go through those drills and coming away thinking, okay, this is completely different. This is the West Coast offense. There's a lot of changes. I didn't necessarily see that. I mean, heck, talking to Brian Schottenheimer, the new OC, he was saying that he thinks about 70% will be the same as it's been in the past. And so there wasn't a ton that they were showing us. They weren't showing us that much of that 30%. Let's put it that way. And just they're doing this in like a 3-step, installation process. And really that first step is what we got to see. And that was really them just kind of getting the verbal stuff down, making sure Dak's on the same page, going through some things, making sure Dak likes what he sees and stuff like that. But to come away from those mini camp and OTA practices and say, oh, I saw a bunch of different things from the offense, I would be lying to you if I said that, because they just really weren't showing a lot.
I think last week I asked you about what are some things that McCarthy has to give up to become the play caller, which he is, and he's done that before. But will there be a difference, or will it be a difference that if they do have some points on the board and they do have a lead, that they won't be throwing it around as much and they're going to grind the clock like they did back when the Cowboys had a young Zeke Elliott, or maybe when the Cowboys had Marion Barber and company, when they could pound the rock at the end of the game? And, of course, no better example than Emmitt Smith.
I don't think there's any question that is the desire. As we sit here today, that is absolutely the plan. The problem with that plan, though, is that injuries happen. And so you can have that plan, and then all of a sudden they're going through the same stuff they've been going through on the offensive line, where every other week it's musical chairs. You don't know who's lining up at 3 out of the 5 starting spots, and there's not a lot of continuity. If that's going on, even if you do have Tony Pollard, playing his best ball, there's no guarantee that the run game is going to be that much better than it was last year. You're going to have some continuity with that offensive line up front. As great as DeMarco Murray or Emmitt Smith or Zeke were in their best seasons with the Cowboys, those usually lined up with some good offensive line play. The bodies are there for the Cowboys to have a good offensive line. Like, I really believe that if you have a healthy Zach Martin and Biotish, Terrence Steele, Tyler Smith, and Tyron Smith, that can be an outstanding offensive line. The problem is that we haven't seen it all together very much lately, and it's always been there's a new combination here. So if that's the case, they'll try to run it, but sometimes your hand's forced. If you're not getting any push up front and there's issues with your offensive line, sometimes you're going to be forced to throw even when you got a lead like that, because that's just what you're going to have to do.
Who do you think is the most exciting newcomer, whether via free agency or through the draft? And I suppose you could look at that from fan reaction and the amount of Twitter stuff that you get based on a person, or just for you yourself because of how they fit into the grand scheme of things. Who's somebody as training camp rolls around that's a new face you're excited to see or to report on more?
Yeah, it's really 1A, 1B for me with Cooks and Stephon Gilmore. Those would be my top 2 for sure, and then third would be Mozzie Smith. But I would say Cooks, just because what he does will be something that stands out even in an OTA practice. Like we saw him catch a deep ball from Dak in their last minicamp practice that in front of the media. Now, he was going against some of the backup younger DBs, but I mean the speed was evident, and Dak hit him with a nice ball that was probably 50, 55 yards in the air. I mean, it was a beautiful play, and it really showed you a little bit of a part of the offense that has probably been missing. So that'll stand out, I think, a lot in a training camp, setting. But even with Gilmore, the thing is, like, when these OTA and minicamp practices, the DBs weren't really trying to intercept passes. They were trying to shadow, be close in situations, but they didn't want to get in any, Stephon Gilmore getting tangled with CeeDee Lamb, someone potentially gets injured. So they were kind of just shadow covering, where they won't be doing that at training camp. And Stephon Gilmore just exudes that veteran presence, and then have him opposite of Trayvon Diggs. And then while you're going to be going against an offense that's kind of working some new things in, I can see being out there in camp and seeing some big days from Stephon Gilmore as well. And then I say Mozzie Smith because, let's be honest, everything I just described is the worst combination for a one, technique defensive tackle with no pads on. Mm-hmm. What is that guy really going to show in that type of setting? Now, when you get the pads on, you start seeing him have to go against Zach Martin, Tyler Biotish, and some of these other guys on the interior. Now that's going to be some great stuff to see at camp, but it just wasn't there in OTAs and minicamp because they're just not playing that style in the trenches.
John, last thing for me and us, and thanks for your time today, is that of the players who last year were productive that perhaps were under the radar entering the season, are there one or two that you're worried about whether they can match that type of productivity or play? And I know I'm like throwing a 53-man roster or 58-man roster, whatever it might be.
No worries. I have no life outside of this team. I'm ready. I would say Deron Bland is the guy that stands out to me because he just came on so fast, and you're just like, man, I can't believe that. I mean, it's just, you look at the team, you're just like, okay, I'm not expecting to get this from a late round guy when your second round pick and Kelvin Joseph's not giving you anything. And then this Bland is just coming out of nowhere, picking off passes. I think he picked off 4 in their last 6 or 7 games. I mean, so I think he's going to be good, but to stay on that level, that's going to be asking a lot. Another one would probably be Damone Clark, another guy that kind of came on towards the end of the year because that first, 6-7 games, he didn't play because he was coming back from that spinal fusion surgery, but he certainly kept elevating his game. Can he take that to the next level? So he would be, another one that would be on that list for me. And then really Sam Williams, the defensive end. I mean, he talks about how he'd love to get double-digit sacks, and it just wasn't there for him in his rookie year because, they're pretty loaded up front in terms of, DeMarcus Lawrence and Parsons. But I just really think that Sam Williams has a chance to really take his game to the next level if he's able to stay healthy. I just think his year 2 jump could be there. So those would be a couple that jump out to me.
Great stuff, John. Thank you very much. You want to text Paul? Go ahead. It's done. It's a done deal. He's signed, sealed, and with Amanda. So congratulations to another Florida State fan for you as well. Thanks for your time today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on, guys.
John Machota, theathletic.com, with us on the Cowboys and much, much more. I want to mention a couple of sponsors here, Garrett, before we close out the show. First of all, Ram season at Allen Samuels. The deals are hot, and so, of course, is the weather. The humidity starting to be a little bit unbearable as well. But you can
get ready, Utah fans.
Yeah.
Get your butts ready.
And it's
this humidity and this heat. It's not like what you got out there in that part of the country, I promise you. But
if they're good
just
enough,
a piece of advice.
If they're good enough to get a lead and then coast in the fourth quarter, it won't.
I don't think it's going to affect. I'm talking more for the experience. Like if you're a Utah fan coming to Waco to watch this game, like get ready to sweat. I mean, be hydrated. I know we'll have far more advanced warnings here in a couple of months when that actually rolls around. But when you're talking about summertime getting hot, it started to arrive. That's for sure.
All right. Again, Allen Samuels, you're right, Craig. I agree. The 10% off MSRP on the new 2023 Ram 1500 Lone Star Crew Cab, or get 2.9% financing for 72 months. The choice, of course, is yours. The inventory right there on the lot with Ram, Dodge. Also, a lot going on with the Jeep and what they have as well. Allen Samuels, always $500 for any one bonus cash to first responders. Ted Teague, the general manager, and Allen Samuels right now, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram for the month of June. Also, I just had a text with Samantha Duvall of TexasBeefHouse.com. They've locked up all the orders for Father's Day, but don't forget you can order anytime at TexasBeefHouse.com. Your house. Where's the beef at your house when you order from Texas Beef House? Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu from our pasture, their pasture just outside of Tylerman White House, to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com. All right, Garrett, thank you very much. Great stuff today. We got Max Olson for sure tomorrow. I think Sam Kahn as well on the recruiting series The Athletic is doing. Baylor was featured today. We'll have him on tomorrow.
Yeah, we should probably do a Baylor version of that.
We will.
Yeah.
We will.
I was looking at it last night, and I didn't fully agree, but I can be I don't think that they were really super off base on anything. I just feel like, okay, maybe this guy would be another way you could go. But, yeah, I thought that they did a good job overall, and it's weird to think that they're basing it off of – it's the pre-internet ranking best player of all time. It's like, wow, that was over 20 years ago now at this point, the pre-internet rankings. So Used to feel like that was about 5, and you could pretty easily think of some people. Now you're like, when did it start? Yeah, it's like, oh, yeah, that was a long time ago. So it was cool to kind of see that article fleshed out and the Baylor version of it, but I encourage you to check out all the other ones as well. I don't know how many they've done at this point, but I've read a couple of them now, and it's a fun little topic, and, yeah, we'll dip into our Baylor picks, I guess, tomorrow at some point.
We will do that as well. Again, thanks to all of our sponsors. Graham Bronstein, Missouri Tiger, Holla, is here today in the building.
Got that big SEC schedule release.
Yeah, looking forward. It's about to happen here in 10 minutes. Also, Emery Winter. We appreciate Emery. Thanks to all of our guests, our great sponsors, and thanks to you for watching and listening to us as much as you do every single day, live from 3 to 6, or you can pick and choose like a buffet of what you want to watch when it gets posted on the YouTube among social media. For Garrett Ross, thank you, Garrett, for running the mothership. Oh, we do have USF AD coming on Monday's show if you're interested in that. For Craig Smoak, I'm David Smoak. Thank you very much. 10:30 tonight, the CW's 365 Sports Tonight, and good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family